This is a world ruled by sharks. They have evolved high intelligence. Not only do they obey traffic lights when crossing the street, they even keep humans captive as their food. The once developed cities have turned into their playgrounds. Humans want to survive here. Can only dive to the ruins to search for resources and supplies. However, every time going underwater is like making a deal with the god of death. Because this water area has 7 aqualords. Each of them is tens of thousands of meters long. They also have some very special abilities. This family in front of me has been drifting at sea since birth. Every day, besides diving to search for supplies, they also. The happiest time is when they salvage all kinds of little things in the sea. At the same time, there's a rule that everyone must follow, which is that after the sun sets, not a single sound is allowed to be made. When the alarm goes off, everyone must return to the cabin. Even precious food is forgotten to be retrieved. You must not hesitate and immediately hide it, because those things only come alive at night. The silent deck only had the ticking sound of a clock. Others dared not even breathe. But the girl was too young to realize the seriousness of the situation. So she asked, "Can Dad hold the fish?" Her words had just fallen. Immediately after that, a huge sound came from the boat. The aqua monsters went crazy searching for the source of the sound. This scared the 2 children. In order to make them feel a little more at ease, Dad, as usual, hugged them in his arms. After such a thrilling and exciting night, the deck was already in a mess of destruction. The 1-week supply of food was also left in a miserable state. And at the other end of the ship, huge claw marks remained. It's as if warning everyone, "This is my territory, stay away." Looking at the situation in front of them, the father and son felt helpless for a moment. It looks like they have to go find ship repair parts again. Caesar immediately said he would go to the site to look for it, but he was sternly reprimanded by his father, because the demon could very likely be hiding on that side of the ruins. Just as the 2 were arguing fiercely, the little girl then stopped them. She said, "Look! A bird! There's a bird flying in the sky!" Her words instantly made them quiet down. The appearance of seagulls means there must be land nearby. And now, land has become a rare existence. Tens of thousands of years ago, Mercury brought countless aqua monsters to collide with the Earth, causing 99% of the continents to disappear. Father seemed very excited about this. After explaining some matters, he left. However, as soon as he came ashore, he realized that something was wrong. Because of this abandoned building, a strange atmosphere permeated throughout. After shouting for a while, it was discovered that there was no one inside the building. So he gathered up his courage and went to the 2nd floor. As soon as he opened the door, he discovered a floor covered with dry corpses and a box of old, rusty artillery shells. He then looked towards the huge hole in the wall beside him. All the steel bars were bent inwards. It seems that the attacks came from the outside. Take another look at the terrifying claw marks left on the wall, associating it with the previous appearance of the ship being attacked. Father was instantly horrified, so he immediately swam back. At the same time, Caesar found that there was suddenly an extra person in the water. The person kept waving their arms. The person in the water felt like a bait used by humans when fishing. Compassionate Caesar immediately wanted to jump into the sea to save the person, but he didn't know it was a conspiracy that would lead to no return. Fortunately, his father arrived just in time and stopped him. Seeing his little trick exposed, this lord, who came to the abyss, also stopped playing. He directly took back his bait. This scene quickly made the experienced father realize that there was something under the boat. But before they could think too much, a gigantic aqua monster bit onto the hull of the boat. Faced with such a giant sea creature, for a moment, the father was also a bit confused. The aqua monster's large mouth crushed their home into pieces. Fortunately, the man was skilled. In a critical moment, he carried the child and spun and leaped around. Several times, they narrowly avoided a fatal blow. However, Aquamonster was not pleased that the snacks in his mouth were gone. So Aquamonster decided to increase the intensity of the attack. After a loud noise, the landing point instantly shattered into 4 or 5 pieces. But the old father still firmly held onto the children, bringing them the last safety and danger. Seeing a few people being beaten onto the land, the Aquamonster also did not continue to attack. It circled around, playing with its prey over and over again. This also gave the father and son a brief moment of peace. Watching his sister lose her voice, Caesar anxiously rushed up to perform physical first aid. Fortunately, she only fainted due to the impact. Watching both children being fine, the father breathed a sigh of relief. But his own condition is not optimistic. To protect the children from harm, the father had Caesar take away the younger sister. While he planned to face it all alone, he realized that he had lost his house, and his wife had also passed away. He didn't have much hope in living on. Father decided to pull out the steel bars in a fit of determination. Unfortunately, they were too deep and he failed. Before he could do anything else, the deep-sea giant then appeared in front of it. Their 4 eyes met affectionately. The father saw the other party risking getting sunburned just to come ashore. The father couldn't help but feel a little puzzled, only to see Aquamonster continuously approaching the dog's nose and sniffing around chaotically. The bloodshot eyes of Aquamonster seemed as if they wanted to see through something. Seeing this, the father prepared for a desperate fight. But the next second, Aquamonster made a sharp turn and ran away. It abandoned the food near its mouth and instead started chasing after the children. Aquamonster's twisted face kept laughing. Seeing this, the old father could only feel anxious. He shouted for Caesar to run quickly. But this Aquamonster is known as the Flash in the ocean. I saw Aquamonster take 3 steps and 2 strides, opening its huge blood-filled mouth. Just as Aquamonster was about to succeed, Caesar hurriedly ran into the building to escape danger. But thinking it was over was a big mistake. Before the 2 children could catch their breath, the Aquamonster's little tongue reached in. However, the Aquamonster seemed to have no sense of direction. The Aquamonster kept groping around for a while, but didn't manage to grab the right spot. Suddenly, the Aquamonster seemed to have sensed something and stopped its movement. Caesar was also scared to the point of holding his breath at this scene. He was afraid that making a sound would harm his sister. The tongue of the Aquamonster slowly curled into a drill shape. The next second, it drilled straight towards Caesar. Then followed a frenzied, storm-like attack. But without exception, all were dodged by Caesar. Just as Caesar thought the Aquamonster had left, a footstep caught his attention. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be his own father. Overjoyed, he called out, "Dad!" But it was this call that almost cost him his life, because this happened to be the signature skill of Aquamonster, shape-changing. The Aquamonster saw that its target had been identified. The Aquamonster directly revealed its true form. Then it dragged Caesar outside. Caesar looked at the abyss-like big mouth. Caesar cried out, "Dad!" again. Before he could finish speaking, a warrior-like man appeared on the battlefield. It turned out that in order to prevent the children from being harmed, the father endured intense pain and broke free from the restraints. After a heavy blow, he successfully saved Caesar. At this moment, this man was no longer concerned about the severe pain in his body, because to him, his child is the most precious. He is willing to sacrifice his own life without hesitation. A man with a determination to die appears exceptionally powerful. He only took a few moves to make Aquamonster covered in blood. Then he smashed the opponent's head. He thought the battle would end there. Even Caesar thought so. But things often do not turn out as beautiful as imagined. Just as the man was fully unleashing his power, the next second Aquamonster's teeth pierced through his body. He seemed to realize what was about to happen next. The man looked back at his child with reluctance. He recalled scenes from the past. The man couldn't help feeling a little lost. He said, I always worry about many things in order to protect you. Whenever you were diving and didn't resurface for a long time, I always worry so much that my heart feels like it's about to explode. At night, hugging you all is also to make you feel at ease. I always smile to show you that. But actually, I am also very scared at times. I am afraid of losing you all. I am also afraid that I cannot protect you. I am always afraid of these things. Caesar, Dad loves you. I entrust my little sister to you. As soon as the man's voice fell, he picked up a shell, ready to die with the other party, because he felt that only in this way could the children be safe. With a loud explosion, the sea gradually returned to calm. Except for some traces of fighting left on the beach. Everything seemed so unreal. But only the child himself knows. From today on, he no longer has a father. The biggest problem the child faces now is food and fresh water. At this time, the younger sister is very hungry. But the older brother is helpless. Can only pray for mercy from the heavens for the two of them. Perhaps it was the sincerity of the older brother that moved the heavens. The next moment, the waves directly washed up some resources. But after a brief search, only a few forks and some debris were found. At this, he remembered scenes from when his father was alive. Every time his father went diving, he collected a large number of forks, because he said that these things would be useful in the future. Thinking of this, Caesar couldn't care about sadness anymore. He promised his father to take good care of his younger sister. So he made a simple harpoon with a fork. Food is the top priority at the moment. Caesar had a busy day. He harvested 2 big crabs. Once the food issue is resolved, the next step is water. It is well known that sea water cannot be consumed. So Caesar decided to try the method his father taught him. Caesar created a device for collecting fresh water. Its principle relies on the sunlight's exposure. The fresh water in the cup evaporates. The cup serves as a container to collect the salt. That's how the morning passed. Finally, it's time to enjoy the spoils of war. A cup of water down the throat, 2 children chorused. Not salty at all. At this moment, Caesar thought, Father indeed did not deceive me. In a blink, the sun was about to set again. Caesar urged his sister to hurry into the building. But she was attracted by a figure on the sea surface. Looking at the scene in front of her, reminded her of something before. Caesar was instantly horrified, because he knew that the aqua monster was not dead. But just as he was stunned, but his sister, paddling a small boat, swam over, because she could see that it was their father's figure. And this move scared Caesar out of his wits. Only he knew it was the aqua monster. The alarm clock rang. The situation became more serious. The rules of survival at night. You must hide when it's dark. You can't make any sound. So Caesar didn't hesitate and headed straight toward Rita to swim. But as soon as he got into the water, he saw a horrifying scene. Countless aqua monster babies were swimming out of the building. He knew it was already impossible to go back inside the building. Caesar simply pulled the boat to the nearest wall. But just as he was about to climb up, the aqua monster's attack came as expected. The debris of the building appeared minuscule in front of this group of aqua monsters. It was as if a flickering candle in the wind that would extinguish with a light touch. At this moment, the aqua monsters were playing with their prey like hunters. The occasional bump made them tremble with fear. Thinking about the miserable situation of falling into the water, Caesar was momentarily at a loss. However, recalling his father's dying wishes, his father would rather lose his life than protect them. How could he die in this god-forsaken place? So Caesar made up his mind to fight to the end. He said, "Come on, you bunch of useless people!" To combat the terrifying existence of aqua monsters, a profession called fork killer was born among humans. They hunt and kill sea monsters at sea all year round, in order to protect the last pure land of humanity. For each aqua monster killed, exceeding 100, one more star will be added to the tattoo on the arm. The girl in front appears delicate and weak. But in fact, she is already a 3-star fork killer. Today, as usual, she patrols. Accidentally discovered 2 children. They were being surrounded by aqua monsters. She dared not imagine how these 2 young children managed to survive on this vast sea. Just a few hours ago, because of Rita's mistake, they almost ended up in the belly of a fish. Later, by a stroke of luck, they managed to escape into the building. But little did they know that the nightmare was just beginning. The siblings made their way to the 2nd floor along the stairs. Due to its weight, an aqua monster broke the stairs. However, before falling, it inflicted a serious blow on Caesar. Watching the aqua monsters frantically scratching the wall, but unable to climb up, Caesar couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, when his sister saw the wound on his back, she couldn't help but feel heartbroken. To prevent her from worrying, Caesar gritted his teeth through the intense pain and comforted her, saying, "It's nothing." Caesar intended to wait here until dawn. But when they turned around, their hearts sank completely. Without giving the 2 any time to react, One-Eye Aqua Monster took the initiative to attack. Seeing that her brother was about to go find their deceased father, the little girl acted in time. She turned One-Eye Aqua Monster into No-Eye Aqua Monster. Rita shouted, "Let go of my brother, you villain!" Seeing this, No-Eye Aqua Monster immediately released its prey and turned towards Rita. However, due to its impaired vision, it had trouble finding direction, so it wildly sniffed around. Seeing this, Caesar quickly grabbed an oil barrel and started hitting it hard. Suddenly, Aqua Monster's attention was drawn towards them. It opened its huge mouth and lunged at him. Seeing the opportunity, Caesar threw the oil barrel, and with a sword in hand, he slashed at the steel rods, causing a lot of sparks to fly. In an instant, Aqua Monster was roasted by the fire from the explosion of the oil barrel. After doing all this, Caesar immediately dragged his sister to the rooftop. However, they did not expect that Aqua Monster would fall and topple the gunpowder depot. It's one thing after another. This scene scared Caesar silly. He grabbed his sister and jumped into the sea. The collapsing house smashed all the fish eggs in the water to pieces. The 2 children breathed a sigh of relief because of this. Watching the gradually sinking island, Caesar felt confused for a moment. But before he could think more, hellish voices came from behind him once again. Those bone-attached creatures, aqua monsters, made Caesar completely lose hope. Facing the aqua monsters pressing closer step by step, he really had no way out. As the first aqua monster launched an attack, the densely packed group behind also rushed towards him. Although Caesar was unwilling in every way, he was powerless. But just when the 2 were about to face death, the next second, the aqua monster was actually exploded by some kind of power. The siblings looked towards the source of the sound, only to see a figure appeared on the sea surface at some point. Approaching for a closer look, it turned out to be Catherine, the 3-star warrior of Fork Killer. Her appearance made many aqua monsters feel threatened. So the aqua monsters decisively gave up on the siblings and turned towards Catherine, swimming towards her in full force. Catherine watched as the aqua monsters approached her. Catherine remained expressionless as she slowly picked up her weapon. A barrage of gunfire swept through. Not a single aqua monster on the sea survived. Just when Catherine thought everything was over. But suddenly, another aqua monster leaped out behind her. The aqua monster not only knocked the weapon out of her hand, but also scratched Catherine's arm. At this sight, her face instantly darkened. You should know that for many years, not a single aqua monster has been able to harm her in the slightest. At this moment, this group of aqua monsters is completely unaware of the seriousness of the situation. They are still eager to take action and prepare to launch a sneak attack. But obviously, Catherine won't give them that opportunity. After drawing her twin swords, her momentum increased several levels. Before the aqua monsters could make a move, she rushed in. With swift and decisive sword techniques, within just 3 seconds, there was no aqua monster left alive in the field. This scene made the siblings terrified. They were thinking that if the opponent was a murderer, they would be doomed. After all, being able to single-handedly take on hundreds of aqua monsters and win decisively is not something that the two of you can handle. After finishing all this, Catherine walked slowly towards the children. She said, "To encounter the fork killer on this vast sea, you are lucky." The woman's words reminded Caesar of his own father, because Caesar's dad is the fork killer, and it seems like he's also a 6-star. Although Caesar doesn't know what that represents. But Caesar thinks this is something worth being proud of, because Fork Killer will fight against Aqua Monster to protect the village. Fork Killer is like a warrior on the sea. My name is Catherine from the Busan Alliance, Fork Killer. You don't have to worry anymore starting from today. Just as she finished speaking, a ship approached from not far away. When Caesar and a few others arrived, he was completely stunned. The scene before him deeply shocked him, because he had never seen such a huge ship before. The area of the ship could be called a small city. Looking at the densely packed human figures, Caesar couldn't help but hug his sister and cry tears of joy. He said, "Dad, we have survived." The arrival of the two children was just an episode. These Busan Alliance soldiers are already used to it. They are still busy with their own affairs. One aqua monster after another is continuously being salvaged to prevent any fish from slipping through the net. Catherine inquired about the underwater situation at Bodo Road. Doctor responded helplessly, saying, "What can we do? The bodies are only left in pieces. It's really outrageous. Catherine, can't you leave one for me to research?" At this moment, the doctor thought to himself, "These guys are really unlucky." Why did they happen to encounter Catherine, the Fork Killer? Before the doctor could think further, the person beside him made a new discovery. As everyone approached and took a closer look, they found a giant monster in front of them. It turned out to be Kent, one of the 7 Aqua Lords. A rough estimate put Kent at least 500 meters long. The doctor asked, "Is this also your doing, Catherine?" Upon hearing this, Catherine was stunned and denied it. Then, she glanced sideways at the corpse of the aqua monster and noticed a huge sword sticking out of it. At this sight, she had already found the answer in her heart, because only that man would have that sword. Do you know how terrifying the power of Aqua Lord is? Any one of them is an insurmountable existence. Human attack methods are like illusions to them. Aqua Lord's indestructible armor is as thick as city walls. But this group of Aqua Lords, they were actually defeated by a single human in combat. He is the Fork Killer, the 6-star Battle Earth Mate. Later, for some reason, he left the organization. Now, he sacrifices himself to protect the children. Killed Kent, one of the 7 Aqua Lords. Now only his Lord Slayer sword lies there. Watching this scene, Catherine couldn't help but fall into memories, because that man had saved her life before. At the same time, Caesar's side also began to handle the boarding procedures. From today onwards, the two siblings will no longer have to live in fear and worry. When Caesar learned from the administrator that these people were all Fork Killers, his eyes couldn't help but gleam with a golden light, because he knew his own father was one too. Seeing the symbol on everyone's body, he knew his father had not lied to him. Seeing Caesar lost in thought, the administrator couldn't help but sigh a few words. "Catherine, who saved you all, is also a very special presence in Fork Killer. She is a 3-star Fork Killer." Caesar didn't understand the severity of the situation. The administrator explained it again. The tradition of the Fork Killer is to tattoo the number of aqua monsters they have hunted on their body. Every 100 aqua monsters killed adds a star. Before adding new stars, there were already too many Fork Killers eaten by aqua monsters. So having a 3-star Fork Killer is already impressive. Upon hearing this, Caesar couldn't help but blurt out, "Then 6 stars would be over 600 creatures." Upon hearing this, the manager burst into laughter. "You must be kidding. 4 stars is already the highest record in Fork Killer. If there were 6 stars, that person would indeed be considered a legend." After the interlude, the manager gestured to the two people that they could board the ship. However, Catherine took the Lord Slayer sword with her, which caught Caesar's curiosity when he saw it. Without saying much, the two little ones safely arrived at the shelter, unaware that Catherine's actions were to save their lives. However, looking at their expressions, the manager felt a bit sorry for them. After all, walking barefoot here is very dangerous. So he decided to go to the market to buy some new clothes for the two of them. On the way, Caesar really opened his eyes. He found that the people here are also excavating relics from the sea, even welding scrap iron into steel behemoths. Finally, after half an hour of walking, they arrived at the market. The prosperity on this ship is almost on par with a modern metropolis. All kinds of dishes are available. There are even hackfish for sale. These new products are making the two children very excited. Soon, the group arrived at the shoe store. However, even when shopping in Apocalypse, one still needs money. When the shopkeeper learned that the buyers were two poor kids, he immediately put on a sour face. But the manager said that there were items they could exchange. After rummaging through the boxes, Caesar took out a clock. Unfortunately, it turned out that the other party did not need it. Seeing this situation, Caesar was a bit at a loss. But the shopkeeper revealed a look of horror. "Wait, is the whiskey you're holding the legendary one? Do you know what a bottle of whiskey could bring you in the apocalypse? Countless glory and riches. Endless fried skewers and ice cream. As long as you sell it, everything will be yours. Young man, I'll pay 900 for you to fix it for me." The continuous bidding and price increase are endless. A few hours ago, two children went to buy shoes. The boss looked at them as if they were poor and didn't give them a good expression. It was not until the boss saw this bottle of whiskey. He immediately did a 180-degree change in expression. But being profit-driven and unscrupulous is his nature. He pretended to generously offer to trade 2 pairs of shoes for Caesar. Upon hearing this, Caesar immediately smiled with joy. However, he was sternly stopped by the manager. The manager said, "You with those shabby shoes dare to ask for whiskey. Are you dreaming, Baldy?" As soon as the words fell, the administrator shouted loudly at the crowd. When the crowd heard the word, "whiskey," the situation immediately exploded. After confirming several times, people discovered that this was indeed the legendary fine wine. So, in the crowd, the scene from the beginning was played out. In the end, the two children leaped and became wealthy and returned home full. On the way back, Rita kept saying that these people all seemed like good people. A bottle of whiskey for all these things. If I had known, I wouldn't have poured everything into the sea. Under the guidance of the administrator, the two children arrived at their new home very soon. What caught their eyes were the tattered beds and countless cobwebs, along with an old black widow. Even the administrator felt a bit reluctant in such an environment. But the two children were happy, because they haven't seen a bed in who knows how many years. Despite the fact that this bed is in terrible condition. After the trouble they've been through these days, the two children are already exhausted. Not long after, Rita fell asleep. But Caesar still couldn't fall asleep, because he carries a heavy burden. At the same time, Aqualord's salvage operation also entered its final stages. The doctor saw this incredibly colossal body. The doctor's expression twisted with excitement. The doctor can't wait to dissect. Taking advantage of everyone's attention on the aqua monster, Catherine went to a secluded place. Has Sting produced any results? This is the real Lord Slayer sword. Catherine remained silent for a long time before slowly speaking a few words. If it really is like that, then this place will become a bloodbath. Those two children absolutely cannot stay here. After all, those are the children of the 6-star Fort Killer Mate. The Busan Alliance army will not allow them to exist. Catherine felt uneasy when she returned to the room. He didn't understand why Mate fought so desperately. Could it be to protect his own family? Thinking of this, she looked toward the crystal ball beside her. Her thoughts also went back to decades ago. Her family was once a wanderer on the sea. She usually survives by scavenging garbage in the sea. And this crystal ball. It was the first gift her father gave her. These simple and happy days lasted for a long time. But until one day, the arrival of the aqua monster turned everything into a nightmare. The little girl witnessed the aqua monster killing countless people. In order to survive, everyone erupted with strong fighting spirit. But they were all defeated by the aqua monster with a single strike. In panic, the father called the Busan Alliance military. However, he was told that they were not obligated to protect refugees. Faced with the father's request, the other party coldly refused with just one sentence. Catherine was stunned by this result. She couldn't believe it. This was the place her father had longed for. The Busan Alliance military said, "Good luck to you, and please don't call us again," Catherine's father said. "We have found the ruins of the mask factory. Don't hang up." As soon as her father finished speaking, a giant pair of pliers reached in. Seeing this, Catherine immediately moved forward to stop it. However, she was loudly reprimanded by her father. He said, "Daughter, don't make a sound and continue to hide well." Accompanied by a sound of chewing, Catherine's father's blood splattered on the spot. Catherine recalled scenes from the past. Catherine lost the courage to go on in an instant. He didn't even dodge when the aqua monster's pincers were near him. At the critical moment, Mate appeared and saved him. It turns out that this man usually likes to be alone and doesn't follow organized actions. This time, he happened to be fishing in the wild. When he saw trouble here, he hurried over. After a fierce battle, he cut off Aqualord's arm. This also made Aqua Monster realize that this man is not to be messed with. So, Aqua Monster slinked away. After everything was over, soldiers from the Busan Alliance arrived. They were not here to rescue people, but to take away the treasures inside the ruins. Afterwards, Catherine was taken back to the Busan Alliance base. An accident made him see the ugly faces of these people. One of the members of the Busan Alliance said, "Yesterday, when the refugees who were completely defeated sent a distress signal, I just said one sentence, refused to provide assistance. Thanks to their total deaths, I was able to collect their belongings into my pocket. I'm so lucky." Hearing this, Catherine burned with anger and planned to avenge her father. But the other party dismissed it entirely, and even taunted her with relish. He said, "Relying on parents to toil. How does it feel to become a formal resident?" Hearing this, Catherine decisively reached out to kill the other party. But unfortunately, she was no match for the other party. She was also arrested by the other party on charges of resisting the fork killer. He said, "Listen well, the *TCH, our fork killer reigns supreme here." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately started punching and kicking her again. Just as they were getting into the fight, a big hand firmly grabbed the leader's fist. Then a spinning kick sent everyone flying. He said, "What are you doing to the patients? You annoying guys. Mate, you are actually obstructing the business of your fork killer colleagues." Mate said, "Is it still fork killer? Are you sure this is carrying out official duties?" Hearing this, the group of people stubbornly replied, "Yes." But as the sound of crushed metal echoed, these men who acted like tough guys instantly became afraid. Mate said, "I will show you what will happen to the lawless fork killers." Seeing the situation, a few people instantly backed off. After muttering harsh words, they left resentfully. It was because of this incident that Mate completely offended these people. However, Mate made a friend in Catherine. After that, Catherine joined the fork killer. Mate disappeared and was never seen again. Decades passed in the blink of an eye. The scene when the two met again seemed like a great divide between them. Mate left behind two young children. Catherine knew that if those people found out they were Mate's children, they would not have a good ending, so she decided that she must do something big. Even in the depths of the apocalypse, one cannot escape the fate of working. In the Busan Alliance army, even if you are not weaned yet, you still have to work. Otherwise, you will either starve to death or be thrown into the sea to feed the fish. Because there are not so many kind-hearted people here. Whether you live or die has nothing to do with them. Caesar is well aware of the principle of enjoying the fruits of others' labor. So he came out early to find a job. It is a pity that operating an excavator requires a driver's license, and moving cement requires a level 8 labor certification. Obviously, Caesar does not have these skills. And even if he claims to be strong, the other party will not believe a 3-year-old child. So Caesar decided to look for other types of work. He encountered several people on the way, but he returned empty-handed each time. Just when he was extremely disappointed, an elderly beggar woman in the corner caught his attention. The elderly person looked like they had been hungry for a long time. Their face was sunken in. Clearly, Caesar's days were also a mess. But he just can't stand to see the suffering of mortals. After fumbling around for a while, he pulled out 2 coins and said, "Grandma, this is all I have now. You can use it first. I will give more to you once I find a job," he said. The old grandmother said, "You are truly a kind child." As soon as the old woman finished speaking, she took out some seeds from her pocket. This represents the seed of hope. At the mention of the word, hope, Caesar immediately became full of energy. And that's how the morning passed. Caesar returned to the dormitory empty-handed. After rummaging through everything for a while, he found that half of the money was missing just a week ago. Thinking about what the administrator had said before, that he would be evicted if he couldn't afford the rent here, Caesar felt helpless. He wanted to pay the rent, but no one would accept it. At this rate, they can only afford to eat grilled fish once a day. Upon hearing that there were not many fish left to eat, the younger sister's mentality exploded on the spot. The younger sister immediately suggested going to find the manager for help. As soon as the words fell, the door was pushed open. Has Caesar found a job? The manager learned that all positions had been rejected by the other party. The manager then planned to leverage his own impressive network. The manager said that this job for Caesar is a bit dangerous. Are you prepared? And so the uncle brought him to the lowest level of the pipe room. The leader watched the other person selling himself vigorously. The leader felt a headache coming on. The leader thought, "Is this a joke?" The leader said, "Are you saying that experience comes from hard work? Are you joking with me?" The administrator said, "Friend, do you still not trust me? Look at this kid's physique. His body is as sturdy as a good horse. You can't even find him with a lantern. And look at these arms. This guy was born to be a pipe worker." Under the persistent persuasion of the manager, the leader gave him a chance. Before leaving, the manager did not forget to remind him, "The most important thing here is to work hard for the money, Caesar. Although the Busan Alliance army can protect people in front of Aqua Monster, but it will not protect you from poverty and disease." The administrator's words made Caesar lost in thought. Someone shouted at Caesar, "What are you staring at? Come and work." And so Caesar began his journey of labor. Like the first job we had when we were young. Although busy and flustered, nothing was done well. But he still puts a lot of effort into doing everything. This is an Earth that has been struck by Mercury. The vast amount of stored water engulfs almost all of the land. In order to survive, people connected ship bodies one by one, forming the current Busan Alliance army. This ship has a history of 70,000 years. Many pipelines are already in disrepair, which made Caesar face a big problem on his first day at work. As Caesar watched the water level rising beneath his feet, a sense of foreboding began to creep into his heart. But Caesar didn't have time to think too much. Explosions were heard from behind. Upon hearing this, the plumber let out a quiet exclamation of, "This is a hidden current. If it is not repaired in time, everyone on the ship will be shark bait." The team leader was also horrified to see this scene. So the team leader immediately arranged for someone to handle it. But they were informed that this is drainage pipe number 3. You should know that drainage pipe number 3 is located at the deepest part of the ship's bottom. It takes at least 30 minutes to dive down there. Also, because the pipe opening is extremely small, a person cannot pass through with scuba equipment. Even people with larger builds cannot fit through. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, Caesar, however, grabbed a flashlight and said, "As a member of the workforce, I cannot refuse such a task." With that said, he ignored the obstruction of others and strode away. Even though he is completely unfamiliar with this pipeline. But he believes that as long as he is willing to work hard, he will eventually succeed. In this way, under the gaze of everyone, Caesar squeezed in. Meanwhile, a group of unwelcome guests also arrived at Caesar's home. Rita heard a knock at the door and thought it was her brother returning. Little did she know it was a group of burly men. They said, "Hello there, little girl. You must be Rita. You look just like your mother." Rita saw that the other party recognized her mother. Rita thought these were some good people. But little did she know the real purpose of this group of people. They intend to take the lives of the siblings. However, Caesar is unaware of all this because he has already infiltrated the interior of the ship. Here he encountered a very difficult problem, as there were too many entrances to the pipes, and he couldn't figure out which one was blocked. He looked around for a long time, but couldn't find the exact location. At this moment, the people above were also in a frenzy. However, their large build made them unable to be of help. They knew that if anyone got lost inside, they would surely die. Thinking of this, the team leader immediately ordered people to frantically strike the third pipe. He found that only this pipe was vibrating. He thought that it must be the uncles pointing the way for him. In this way, guided by the uncles, Caesar successfully arrived at the location. After some maneuvers, he finally cleared the blocked garbage. However, the suddenly intensified water flow made him a little bewildered. In the chaos, a leather shoe hit him in the face, causing him to lose a big gulp of oxygen. It is undoubtedly life-threatening during long periods of diving. Without the obstruction of this garbage, the water inside the cabin was also quickly drained out. Everyone was extremely excited. There was no hesitation in praising Caesar. He really did it. But as time passed, Caesar still didn't come up. At this point, the leader realized something was wrong. Asking how long it had been, the crew members anxiously replied that it had been 8 minutes. And so time passed by second. The number increased to a terrifying 24 minutes. The crew members all advised the team leader to accept the change with sorrow, because no one could survive underwater for such a long time. But the team leader couldn't let it go, because this kid did this for them. However, when everyone was in despair, there was a reflection on the water surface. Aqualord whales can hold their breath for 15 minutes. Great white sharks can hold their breath for 20 minutes. Even these native animals cannot achieve long periods of diving. But the kid in front of them did it. He stayed underwater for 30 minutes with just one breath. This also broke the world record in one go, making him an official sewer worker. Caesar, who found a job, bought a bunch of delicious food, preparing to give Rita a surprise when going home. Little did he know, his silly sister had caused him more trouble again. Seeing Rita with a vacant look, Caesar thought she was sick. He had just wanted to step forward and ask. A big hand suddenly appeared, pressing him tightly against the wall. The man said in his mouth, "Finally found you, Mate's eldest son, Caesar." It turned out that Mate betrayed the Busan alliance 10 years ago. This man also lost one arm in a fight with him. When he saw the names of the siblings on the shelter list, he rushed to seek revenge immediately. Caesar was helpless against this man's attack. Just as the man was about to end Caesar's life, an alert for an aqua monster attack sounded throughout the city. The man had to stop and head to the battlefield. Before leaving, he warned them not to think about escaping, then locked the two inside the room. Caesar comforted his crying sister continuously. Meanwhile, Catherine led the team to prepare to fight the aqua monster. Following her orders, a group of people charged out onto the deck. Iron Fist Guy took the lead and with a powerful strike, shattered the aqua monster into pieces. The relentless storm of attacks kept pounding the pursuing aqua monsters. In the blink of an eye, Iron Fist Guy slaughtered them all. However, before the few could breathe a sigh of relief, the aqua monster covered its body with slime. The bullets had no effect, and the humans trapped in the slime couldn't move. Just as the team members were about to meet a grim fate, Catherine descended from the sky. She continued to strike the Aqua Monster. In an instant, Aqua Monster's body was split in two. Then she crushed the lure potion made by the doctor. Soon, the Aqua Monsters all rushed towards her when they smelled the scent. Under Catherine's lead, a large number of Aqua Monsters were attracted to the deck. With her command, a burst of flame shot out from the hull, instantly surrounding the Aqua Monsters. The continuous burning quickly wiped out all of the Aqua Monsters. At this moment, Caesar and his sister escaped from the pipeline to save their lives. Caesar was shocked to see the scene of hunting Aqua Monsters. At this moment, Catherine raised the weapon in her hand. The people on the deck immediately started screaming repeatedly. On the other side, Dojin found the two escaping people and became furious. He immediately ordered his men to search everywhere. The two people, Caesar, were hiding among the crowd. The vast Busan alliance had nowhere for them to go. This is a seed of flower full of hope. In this world full of Aqua Monsters, seed of flower is faith. It is also the longing of humanity for a better life. However, there is a strict hierarchical system in the Busan alliance. Refugees who cannot pay taxes will be driven off the ship and left at sea to perish on their own. Facing the old person's desperate pleas, the four killers remain indifferent and still want to expel him. Caesar on the side could not bear it any longer and spoke out to stop it. He said, "Fork Killer is a warrior who protects humans, not just a useless coward who only knows how to hide." Just as the words fell, a slap headed straight for Caesar's face. Caesar's words hit Dojin's heart directly. He went crazy and started punching and kicking Caesar. Even though he was beaten to a pulp, Caesar still refused to submit. Here, Caesar saw everyone working hard for survival. It is because of these people's efforts that the Busan alliance can float on the sea. As soon as this statement was made, the people around suddenly looked at each other. Seeing Caesar inciting and agitating, Dojin made a big deal out of him being the son of the traitor Mate. Unexpectedly, the crowd became even more chaotic upon hearing that it was Mate. In order to prevent the situation from escalating further, Dojin took out a gun, ready to end this farce. At the critical moment, Catherine appeared just in time to block the bullet. Without saying a word, Catherine swung the twin blades towards Dojin. Seeing more and more fork killers coming for backup, Catherine pulled out a Barrett and started firing wildly. Seizing the opportunity, Catherine led a few people to break out of the encirclement. At this moment, someone who had been helped by Mate before reached out a helping hand. After settling the old lady, the three continued to flee. However, ambushes had already been set up along the way by pursuers. The pursuers, upon seeing them approaching, opened fire without hesitation. To protect the two of them, Catherine used her body to shield them from the bullets. Caesar looked at Catherine, covered in wounds, feeling at a loss. He didn't understand why she would go to such lengths. Tears of self-blame immediately streamed down Caesar's face. However, Catherine casually responded that she was only doing it to pay off a debt. Dozens of pursuers arrived at this moment. Catherine shielded the two behind her and burst out with strong killing intent. Then she directed Caesar and herself to use the excavator to jump onto the boat below and leave first, while she stayed behind to hold off the enemies. Caesar immediately grabbed his sister and ran towards the rear after receiving the order. However, on the way, Caesar was ambushed by two fork killers. Seeing no way out, Caesar gritted his teeth and picked up his sister. Taking aim at the landing spot, Caesar leaped into the container with a single bound. Caesar then taunted the two soldiers. Unexpectedly, the soldiers jumped down as if they didn't care about their lives. Then, after saying a word of apology, they raised their knives to attack the two. At the same time, Catherine finished off all the pursuers and prepared to kill Dojin. Catherine learned about the child's situation from Dojin. Catherine, after hearing this, rushed quickly towards the siblings without even bothering to pick up the dagger. Meanwhile, Caesar, leveraging his own advantages, kept engaging with the soldiers. He seized the opportunity, when the soldiers loosened their grip and pulled the fishing net. The soldiers lost their balance and fell into the sea. At this moment, Catherine also hurried over. The teenager needs to dive for 8 hours every day to find usable supplies. One slight mistake could lead to encountering dangerous marine creatures. Nevertheless, he continues to do this work day after day. For years ago, Caesar and 3 others narrowly escaped from the Busan Alliance. By a stroke of luck, they ended up living in Greenwind Harbor. Greenwind Harbor is built from the rubble of collapsed buildings. The bottom of the ruins is buried with a large amount of supplies. And Greenwind Harbor is also a safe zone without aqua monsters. However, Greenwind Harbor is not like the Busan Alliance in excluding outsiders. The village chief welcomes divers from all over to come treasure hunting. As long as divers salvage relics, they can become wealthy for life. However, Caesar is not interested in this. His dream has always been to become a fork killer. Mao, as Caesar's good buddy, comes over every day to bum free meals. As soon as the two arrived at the doorstep, they heard their little sister calling out. At this moment, Rita is no longer just a little brat who cries and fusses all the time. Caesar came home and immediately went to look for Catherine in the room. But Caesar opened the door and found no one there. Just as he was about to leave, someone attacked Caesar from behind. Caesar reacted instantly and dodged the attack. At this moment, Catherine's voice came through. She said, "Well done, you've sped up a bit." After finishing speaking, ignoring Caesar's dissuasion, Catherine launched a fierce attack on him. After exchanging a few moves, Catherine became angry when she saw he did not fight back. She said, "Are you only good at defense?" Caesar, not wanting to continue, shouted for Mao to come and help. To their surprise, as soon as Mao entered the room, Catherine pretended to fall to the ground. Then she put on a pitiful expression. "Welcome, Mr. Mao." Faced with this situation, Caesar stood frozen in place, at a loss for what to do. In the midst of his confusion, Mao's hand came flying with a loud slap. "How dare you hit my delicate goddess?" Caesar retorted. At this, Catherine wore an expression that seemed ready to devour someone. Caesar saw this, and was about to speak but stopped himself, allowing Mao to wreak havoc. Meanwhile, 2 divers explored a ruin and discovered numerous valuable items after searching for a while. Just as they were immersed in joy, a steel bar suddenly pierced through the chests of the 2 divers from behind. A girl and her family were killed by Aqua Monster, but luckily a man appeared just in time to rescue her from the Aqua Monster. Years later, the girl risked her life to repay this favor by taking the man's child out of Busan Alliance. With her help, the siblings grew up safely. In order to survive in the wilderness, Catherine often trained Caesar. The 2 siblings have already considered Catherine as their own family member. However, their originally peaceful life was disrupted on that day. The crowd discovered a strange aqua monster at the harbor, which was found to contain human limbs inside. Villagers were discussing this matter. At this moment, Mao stepped out from the crowd and said that the aqua monster would be cut up and thrown back into the sea. However, the aqua monster kept wriggling in pain after being pierced by a harpoon. The villagers were scared and scattered. But the village chief remained calm. He pulled out the harpoon and pierced the aqua monster's head. After a tremor, the aqua monster softened on the ground. Caesar, seeing this, asked if it was the aqua monster. The village chief said, "Caesar, there is no aqua monster in our village. It's just some dead fish." On the other side, Rita is humming a tune while hanging out the laundry. Suddenly, a sound from the sea's surface caught her attention. A diver emerged from the sea. He then took off his helmet, gasping for breath. Rita saw that this person was the missing Maori and hurried forward to support him. At this moment, the man grabbed Rita. The man said, "There is an aqua monster, run quickly." After saying that, the man passed away. Caesar immediately took his sister to the village chief's house upon hearing this. However, the village chief firmly believed that there was no aqua monster here in order to prevent the harbor from being closed off. The village chief then mentioned that a few years ago, divers spread rumors everywhere to selfishly claim an inheritance. Additionally, last year, someone murdered a companion due to uneven distribution of spoils. The villagers began to waver upon hearing this because once the harbor was sealed off, the divers who came to search for treasures would not be able to make a living. But then Caesar's words further plunged everyone into a dilemma. He asked, "Can the dead lie? Was Maori's desperate attempt to come ashore and warn everyone to leave a deception?" When several people were deadlocked, 3 people broke in and bravely volunteered to go into the sea to investigate. Please specify. Jocko, Sonia, and Park Gongtae. They claimed to be the fourth killer of Peroding City. Everyone present showed surprised expressions upon hearing this. Caesar followed the sound and looked at the few people, only to find that none of them had stars engraved on their shoulders. No stars meant no real combat experience. After some thought, Caesar immediately decided to join them. Seeing his bravery, Sonia stepped forward and rewarded Caesar with a kiss. This move immediately left Catherine and Rita stunned in place. The next morning came quickly. The group got ready and entered the submarine. At this point, the younger sister asked Catherine why she didn't stop Caesar. It would be very dangerous if there really is an aqua monster. However, Catherine explained that this is a necessary process for his growth. Inside the village chief's room, a conspiracy gradually unfolds. The village chief said, "No one can come back alive from there." The aqua monster opened its bloody mouth to avenge its partners. The next second, the man was swallowed with a burst. Several hours earlier, a group of people arrived at the depths of the ruins to see if there was an aqua monster. They all had their own unavoidable purposes. But before long, the submarine was blocked by rubble. Helplessly, the group had to continue their exploration by wearing diving suits. To speed up the progress, several people decided to split into pairs through discussion. They agreed to regroup in the same spot after half an hour. As they continued deeper, the pitch-dark ruins made Caesar tremble with fear with each step. In the dark passages, it felt like the aqua monster could jump out at any moment. Sonia had to talk to Caesar to alleviate his anxiety. At that moment, Caesar hastily spoke up. He sensed the sound of dripping water not far away. Ignoring Sonia's calls, Caesar walked straight ahead. Through their search, the two found a hidden spot. To investigate further, they resurfaced. But the scene before them left the two shocked beyond belief. In the vast space, not only was there fresh air, but also densely packed bones at their feet. As they were stunned, a figure slowly emerged from the pile of skeletons. Seeing this, the two took out their weapons and prepared to fight. However, as the figure gradually became visible, they realized it was a survivor. At that moment, the man suddenly collapsed. Then, seizing the opportunity when the two approached to help him up, the man grabbed Caesar by the face and lifted him high. With a loud bang, Caesar was slammed heavily onto the ground. Following this, Caesar picked up a weapon and swung it towards the man. In a critical moment, Sonia took a strong step forward, sword in hand, and cut the man in half at the waist. But the next moment, a tumor began to grow continuously at the man's wound. Countless tentacles sprang from the tumor, firmly grabbing Sonia. At this moment, the man's body also transformed into an aqua monster. Opening its mouth wide, it was about to tear Caesar apart. At the critical moment, Caesar swung his sword towards the aqua monster. Next, Caesar pulled the weapon mechanism, and with a click, a powerful air current shot the sword body out. In an instant, the aqua monster was firmly pinned to the wall. Caesar looked at the body in front of him, recalling the aqua monster that the villagers found at the harbor. The actions of the village chief at that time suddenly made Caesar shudder. Meanwhile, Rita is greeting the customers in the shop. Her lovely appearance also makes her an angel in everyone's heart. Even if she makes mistakes, everyone will not blame her. However, today she encountered a bully who is unapproachable and unreasonable. The bully said, "This waiter stained my clothes. What should I do?" The boss rushed forward to apologize upon seeing the situation. At that moment, Catherine shielded Rita behind her and took the initiative to help clean up. Looking at Catherine in front of him, the bully suddenly felt a strong attraction towards her. The bully pulled Catherine into his arms and asked her to accompany him for a drink. However, he didn't know what kind of powerful woman he had angered. Before Catherine could react, Mao slammed the table and stood up. He said, "Take your hands off my Catherine." But when the bully stood up to confront him, Mao was instantly frightened and stood frozen in place. But Mao didn't want to lose face in front of his beloved. Mao bravely launched an attack on the bully. Just as the bully was about to strike back, Catherine swiftly stabbed him in the waist with a steel fork. Distracted, the bully was then hit with a heavy punch to the face by Mao. In an instant, the bully lost consciousness and collapsed on the ground. Just as Mao was about to show off, he discovered that Catherine and the two had already left. The scene changes. Rita kept crying non-stop because she was worried about her brother's safety. Catherine, however, told her not to worry, because Caesar is constantly training. And after Catherine's observation for the past 2.5 years, Catherine knows that his abilities are stronger than anyone else's. In the depths of the sea, Caesar gathered all his teammates together. They decided to enter the tunnel where Aquamonster emerged to see what was inside. Aquamonster is one of the 7 Aqualords. Not only is he gigantic in size, but he also possesses extremely high intelligence. At this moment, Caesar and his group arrived at the depths of the ruins to investigate for the safety of the village. They groped their way forward along the passage. Soon, they came to the end. However, what they saw in front of them was beyond belief. The entire shelter was filled with supplies, which remained intact even after the passage of countless years. The two sidekicks couldn't contain their excitement upon seeing this, and wanted to move the supplies immediately. However, Caesar, uninterested, remained vigilant and observed his surroundings. At that moment, he seemed to have discovered something that prompted his teammates to take out their weapons. Upon hearing this, the few people followed his gaze and looked up. Instantly, they all froze in place, only to see dense clusters of Aquamonster larvae attached to human bodies. They wriggled incessantly, as if they were about to burst out at any moment. This scene reminded Caesar of his childhood memories. This made him realize that this was the Aquamonster's lair. The sidekick turned pale after hearing this. At this moment, Jocko quickly signaled to the others not to make a sound, because he found that these Aquamonsters were still asleep. It is safe to leave without disturbing them. The crowd also followed Jocko's advice quietly. However, before they went far, a noise was heard up ahead. An Aquamonster rushed out of the water, blocking the exit. The sidekick was so frightened that he lost control of his bladder. The next moment, tentacles emerged from behind and entwined his legs. Before he could react, he was dragged to the Aquamonster's mouth. With a gulp, he was swallowed by the Aquamonster. At this moment, the octopus blocking the exit opened its mouth as if to attack the crowd. Caesar cursed and signaled his companions to shoot. However, the bullets had no effect on the Aquamonster. More and more Aquamonsters were awakened by the fighting. Jocko shouted for everyone to run quickly. But the Aquamonsters didn't give them a chance to escape. In an instant, they surrounded several people. As the Aquamonsters closed in on them, Park Gongtae raised a baseball bat and launched the first attack. With a loud bang, Park Gongtae smashed the head of the Aquamonster in front of him into a pulp. Just as he swung his bat to continue his attack, 3 tentacles suddenly appeared and tightly wrapped around him. Soon more tentacles wrapped around his whole body. It seemed like the Aquamonster was about to tear Park Gongtae apart. Caesar appeared instantly and severed the tentacles. Then, a powerful slash cut the Aquamonster in half. After rescuing his teammate, Caesar charged alone into the group of Aquamonsters. The speed of these octopuses was nothing compared to Catherine in his eyes. After 2.5 years of intense training, Caesar was no longer as weak as before. He shuttled back and forth among the Aquamonster group. Everywhere he went, rivers of blood flowed. Accompanied by roars, the Aquamonsters fell one after another. Soon, Caesar slaughtered all the octopuses. Teammates watching from afar were all impressed by Caesar's mighty strength. Suddenly, there was a violent shaking in the tunnel. Countless tentacles rushed out from the walls. Then a huge octopus broke through the wall. It was Crab Norton, one of the 7 Aqua Lords. Jocko, upon seeing the sound made by the aqua monsters, also began to tremble. While everyone was in a daze, seawater gushed out from the broken wall caused by the octopus. Seeing the situation, everyone quickly put on their helmets. The powerful force of the water instantly scattered them. Sonia's oxygen tank was accidentally shattered by an object. Seeing the octopus getting closer and closer, Caesar held her in his arms and used the airflow generated by the weapon to escape to a distance. The octopus swore to avenge the cub and followed them to the death. Blue liquid kept oozing from the octopus's tentacles. Caesar couldn't dodge in time and was hit by the blue liquid on the oxygen tank. The next second, the corrosive liquid caused the oxygen tank to explode. 2 people were sucked into the tunnel because of this. The giant octopus could not enter. After trying in vain outside, it turned and left. The 2 in the tunnel immediately felt relieved when they saw it leave. It seems that the octopus came out to protect its offspring. Caesar encountered the aqua monster when he was young, which surfaced despite the sun's corrosive effect on its skin. At this point, without much time to consider, they had to immediately head to the end of the tunnel to find oxygen. On the way, Jaco's body appeared in front of them. Sonia was overwhelmed by the sight and burst into tears. The remaining oxygen in Sonia's helmet was instantly depleted. At the same time, Park Gongtae was washed by the current to a ruins. When he woke up in a daze, he found 2 children standing in front of him. What should one do if drowning in deep sea? Just when Sonia thought she was going to suffocate to death, Caesar immediately transmitted oxygen to her using artificial respiration. The warmth coming from between the lips instantly woke Sonia up. After seeing that he could supply oxygen to himself without an oxygen tank, Sonia thought that Caesar could breathe in water. However, the fact is that Caesar can only stay underwater longer than an ordinary person. He discovered this skill by accident during a near-drowning experience. But their primary goal now is to leave this place. Caesar gestured to Sonia for help when she ran out of oxygen. Then the 2 swam towards the exit. Soon, Sonia was about to suffocate again due to lack of oxygen. She didn't care about her dignity, grabbing Caesar's hair and sucking in oxygen greedily like a hungry wolf. At this moment, the submarine that came to search found their trace. Unexpectedly, Sonia, who had just been rescued, grabbed an oxygen tank and was about to look for Park Gongtae. The psychic quickly stopped her, because the top priority now is to inform the villagers that there is danger here. Moreover, this aqua monster will lure divers to search for treasures using heritage as bait. As soon as these words were spoken, several people felt chills down their spines. In the midst of the conversation, a huge figure appeared in front of everyone. Psychic saw the situation and swiftly dashed towards the sea surface. However, the octopus's speed was too fast, and in an instant, it used its tentacles to firmly entangle the submarine. Then, it swung its tentacles to smash the submarine into the ruins. The 3 people inside the cabin also fainted due to the violent shaking. Seeing them motionless, the octopus turned around and darted towards the sea surface. In the blink of an eye, the octopus arrived at Greenwind Harbor. Today, the octopus vowed to avenge its dead offspring. The villagers were scared off by the sudden appearance of the aqua monster and scattered in all directions. Those who reacted slowly were taken by the octopus as food and sent into its mouth. At this moment, the village chief received a notification of aqua monster's attack. He had originally thought that the octopus would eat Caesar and his companions, giving them a few peaceful months. However, the sudden appearance of aqua monster ruined all the village chief's plans. Meanwhile, the chaos caused by aqua monster caught Catherine's attention. Mal also led some strong young people to prepare to protect the village. Catherine hurriedly instructed Rita to go to a safe zone. Catherine is preparing to go into battle. When she saw that the aqua monster's skin was scorched by the sun, she was shocked. She couldn't understand why Crab Norton, one of the 7 Aqua Lords, would risk sunburn to come here. Soon, some young adults arrived at the port with harpoons in hand. They threw their weapons at the aqua monster. The octopus cried out in pain as it was struck. It then dove into the water to evade the attack. Just as everyone thought they had won a complete victory, the octopus suddenly shot out from the water. In an instant, it swallowed several unlucky fellows. When Mao saw his comrades in trouble, he raised his weapon to avenge them. But before he could get close, the octopus used its tentacle to knock him back. Mao watched as his companions were killed one by one. Mao's mind went blank, and he stood frozen in place. This aqua monster was a demon that humans couldn't handle. The overwhelming pressure made Mao tremble all over. Faced with the creature's tentacles, he couldn't muster any strength to resist. Just as the octopus was about to make a meal out of him, Catherine leaped forward with a harpoon in hand. With a swift motion, she stabbed the aqua monster in the face. The octopus, in pain, flung Mao away. After ensuring his safety, Catherine continued to stab the aqua monster with her harpoon. Then, using her weight, she slid down on the harpoon, causing a gash on the creature's skin in an instant. Suddenly, the harpoon broke. Catherine performed a triple somersault in the air and then landed perfectly. The villagers were left in awe by this series of actions. Seeing the urgent situation, Catherine didn't have time to go home to get her weapons. She took Mao's short blade at hand and prepared to continue the fight. At the same time, Catherine ordered Mao to lead the villagers to take shelter in the sunken ship building. After arranging everything, Catherine looked at the octopus in front of her with burning anger. Initially, Catherine had infiltrated here to hide her identity from the Busan Alliance. During this period, my siblings and I lived happily together. I want to maintain this kind of life forever. So I ignored so many danger signals. I shouldn't have forgotten about those aqua monsters. They are everywhere. Wherever there is sea, there are aqua monsters. These aqua monsters not only treat humans as snacks, but also turn human bodies into containers to hatch their offspring. In this apocalypse, where the whole continent is covered by seawater, the harsh environment has caused many marine creatures to mutate. It has also created the 7 Aqua Lords, who dominate their respective territories. Crab Norton, one of the 7 Aqua Lords, has emerged from the sea despite the burning sunlight to avenge the slaughtered offspring by humans. In just 2.5 minutes, he devastated the village. Seeing her homeland destroyed, Catherine, the 3-star fork killer, no longer hides her strength and stands up. Faced with the aqua monster's stormy attacks, she keeps evading. One wrong move from her, and she would be killed on the spot. Just then, Catherine took advantage of cover to get close to the aqua monster's body. Then she rolled away to escape the octopus's attack range. However, her all-out strike failed to cause substantial damage to the aqua monster. At this moment, her weapon was also about to shatter. As Catherine found herself at a loss, the villagers on the side picked up stones and threw them at the aqua monster. This action immediately angered the octopus, as it swiftly swung its tentacles, dispersing the villagers in all directions. Catherine shouted out loudly to attract the aqua monster's attention. The next moment, several water bubbles shot out from the octopus's tentacles toward her. Catherine couldn't dodge in time and was hit by the water bubbles. The corrosive effect contained in them immediately rendered her unable to fight. Before she could react, the octopus tentacles came roaring again. The powerful impact instantly pushed Catherine back several meters. It was not until her body crashed into several buildings that it finally stopped. A series of injuries left her paralyzed in the ruins. She gritted her teeth, determined to stand up. Just as the aqua monster opened its huge mouth to swallow her, a gunshot echoed from afar. Caesar, who had miraculously escaped from the bottom of the sea, arrived just in time. Upon reaching the shore, he realized the destruction of the village and quickly grabbed his weapon, heading straight to the battlefield. He shouted, "Go to hell!" Caesar angrily fired the machine gun at the octopus. While Aqua Monster was distracted, he threw his weapon. Meanwhile, Catherine, with her strong willpower, stood up. She drew her weapon and charged towards Aqua Monster. With the power of the Lord Slayer's sword, the octopus's tentacles were cut off one by one. The consecutive heavy blows caused Aqua Monster to cry out in disarray. Just as everyone thought they were about to achieve victory, the octopus turned and charged towards the crowd. Catherine, seeing this, quickly directed Caesar to drive the Aqua Monster out to sea. Priority is to protect the villagers. Under the barrage of Caesar's machine gun, the Aqua Monster charging towards the crowd changed direction. The village was crowded with people. Wherever the octopus went, humans died. Just as the octopus reached out its sinister claws towards two children, Rita hurried forward and pushed them away. In turn, Rita was swallowed by the Aqua Monster. As the octopus's large mouth closed shut, Rita slid down its esophagus. No matter how she called for help, it was to no avail. Caesar went crazy when he saw his younger sister being harmed. He roared as he chased Aqua Monster all the way, vowing to shoot him on the spot. But once they reached the sea, it was Aqua Monster's territory. The octopus swung its tentacles and knocked Caesar away. Then it submerged into the depths of the ocean. Caesar could only watch as the Aqua Monster's figure slowly disappeared. Caesar recalled a past memory while he was unconscious. It was when his sister had just been born. Caesar appeared at a loss when he saw the birth of new life for the first time. Caesar's mother passed away shortly after giving birth to his sister. Since then, Caesar has been blaming Rita for his mother's death. If Rita had not been born, his mother would not have died. But when Rita is really in danger, Caesar will not stand idly by. Because Rita is very beautiful, she looks just like her mother. Caesar is lost without Rita and muddles through each day. He thought he was strong enough to protect his sister from harm at any time. But it was only when the Aqua Monster ate his sister in front of him that he realized how weak he truly was. Fortunately, Catherine's appearance immediately pulled Caesar back from the brink of collapse. She now needs to go with Caesar to tear the Aqua Monster into pieces. Meanwhile, the village chief is organizing everyone to rebuild their homes. The passionate and inspiring speech by the village chief deeply moved the villagers. Caesar suddenly lunged out from the crowd and punched him, knocking him to the ground. Caesar scolded him, asking why he didn't tell everyone that Crab Norton lived right under our feet. He also continuously threw villagers into the water to feed the Aqua Monster, who knew that the village chief would kneel down upon hearing this. He said, "How could I have known that there was an Aqua Monster there? What ability do I have to throw people into the sea to feed the Aqua Monster? I only want the village to prosper. Why is everyone trying to blame me?" Watching the village chief getting more and more agitated, the villagers stepped forward one after another to stop Caesar. At this moment, a harsh sound was heard. The recording of the village chief and his sidekick's conversation came through the horn. It turned out that the sidekick could not bear the condemnation in his heart. He did not want to sacrifice others' lives for temporary peace. Because every time Aqua Monster devoured a few people, it would remain calm for a while. Therefore, the village chief kept using the underwater heritage to lure people into the water for treasure hunting, in order to bring temporary tranquility to the village. Upon learning the truth, the villagers swarmed up and started punching and kicking the village chief. The village chief hurriedly climbed to Caesar's side, begging to be saved. But faced with Caesar, the killer who had caused the death of his sister, he remained indifferent, because he could understand the pain of those villagers who had lost their loved ones. Just as a new round of attacks was about to follow, an earth-shattering secret was revealed by the village chief. He said that the people taken by Crab Norton were still alive. Caesar hurriedly took action to prevent it. He then asked the village chief, "What does it mean to be alive?" At this moment, the village chief, in order to save his life, revealed everything he knew. Crab Norton does not directly eat the captured prey. He puts humans in a place similar to a food store. Then he lays eggs inside the host through infection for hatching. There is a breeding ground somewhere in the lair. If lucky, a person can survive for another week. He was also the first person to escape from the Aqua Monster's lair. Caesar is extremely excited upon learning that his sister may still be alive. After discussing with Catherine, they decided to have the village chief lead the way to search for that breeding farm. In the resource-poor apocalypse, even the aqua monster, which monopolizes a sea area, has to allocate food reasonably. It stores the humans it devours from the village in its nest. It only comes to enjoy them when needed. When Caesar learned about the habits of the aqua monster from the village chief, Caesar immediately assembled volunteers and prepared to go underwater to rescue people. They were all elites from various fields. However, in Sonia's eyes, these people without any combat experience were just walking into their own deaths, because they were going to face Aqua Monster, one of the 7 Aqua Lords. Sonia doesn't know if she can trust Catherine's battle plan. Soon, a group of people, led by the village chief, arrived at the entrance to the nest. After some observation, Catherine directed everyone to block the exit with steel wires. Afterwards, Catherine took out a flashlight and threw it into the entrance. Under the guidance of the light, a dummy with a parcel bomb was placed. Some cubs, awakened by the flashlight, saw the human intrusion. One cub immediately swallowed the dummy whole. With a bang, the aqua monster near the dummy was instantly blown to pieces. Other awakened cubs rushed toward the exit with the sound of explosions. The extremely fast impact speed caused their bodies to be cut into pieces by the steel wires. However, with aqua monsters continuously pouring out, the system only lasted 2.5 seconds before being destroyed by the aqua monsters. At this moment, Catherine raised a searchlight in the distance to attract their attention. Just as the aqua monsters were about to arrive, a large net shot out from the seabed, instantly wrapping up all the aqua monsters. Under the machine gun fire from the crowd, the aqua monsters were quickly slaughtered. Seeing the crisis in front of them resolved without any effort, Sonia couldn't help but admire Catherine's leadership skills. At the same time, the villagers taken away by Crab Norton woke up from unconsciousness. While they were discussing how to escape from the lair, several tentacles shot out from the bottom of the water. Seeing this, everyone scattered in all directions. A few unlucky ones, who were not in the safe house, were caught by the tentacles. Rita held the child tightly in her arms to protect him. Suddenly, an aqua monster covered with human containers emerged from the water. It sucked the captured villagers into its body. The next moment, those villagers were wrapped in bubbles and attached to the skin of the aqua monster. Only after completing these actions did the aqua monster satisfactorily submerge back into the seabed. The survivors who witnessed all this were left stunned in place. This is not Crab Norton. Within the den, there are 2 aqua monsters. On the other side, the village chief led everyone to shuttle through the den. After walking in a circle, they ended up back at the starting point. Caesar, seeing this, was furious and ready to start beating the village chief. At this moment, a mutated shark sprang out from the water to launch a sneak attack. The village chief couldn't dodge in time and was bitten by the aqua monster. At the critical moment, Polka Dot and another person rushed towards the aqua monster. With combined force, they struck and beheaded the shark. Just as the battle ended, an iron gate appeared in the tunnel. "Are you here to find Uncle Park Gomte?" the gate asked. "This aqua monster is definitely the most qualified male partner. It broke into the human village and unleashed a massacre for food. Eventually, it was beaten and ran back to its den with injuries. However, it regurgitated all the humans it had risked swallowing, just to let its expectant wife have priority. Caesar and the others came to the underwater lair to rescue the villagers. However, the complex terrain caused them to get lost in the tunnels, just as everyone was at their wits' end. A mysterious boy claiming to be a friend of Park Gongtae appeared before everyone. The 2 of them said they had come specifically to lead everyone out of the maze. After some discussion, Polka Dot and the others decided to temporarily trust them. Meanwhile, the villagers in the food storage were all in despair. Every time the tentacles appeared, they would take away a few lives. They seemed like lambs to the slaughter. This scene reminded Rita of her childhood memories. Back then, when encountering the aqua monster, although she would be afraid, her brother would always fight to the end without giving up. She looked at the steel bars on the ground and made a bold decision. At this moment, the tentacles of the aqua monster once again burst out from the water. The villagers, seeing this, frantically hid in the background, afraid that the next one to die would be themselves. But Rita stood in front to protect the children, roaring to attract the attention of the aqua monster. The next second, she was grabbed by the tentacles and lifted into the air. Rita took out the steel bar in her hand and fought desperately. Under pain, the aqua monster ruthlessly threw her to the ground. The intense impact immediately knocked Rita unconscious. At a critical moment, the man quickly stepped forward and pushed away the tentacles to save her. Other villagers saw what was happening and also picked up weapons to assist. They shielded the child behind them. Even such a young child chose to fight. They had no reason to fear death. Even if they died, they could not let the aqua monster go unscathed. At the same time, the youth led Caesar and others to the depths of the shelter. They breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing that Park Gongtae was safe. At this time, Catherine requested the leader to help them find the aqua monster's lair. The bold head guy had already known the purpose of their visit. He asked if you are here to rescue these people. Caesar saw that everyone was still alive through the monitor. Caesar cried tears of joy. Seeing their reactions, the bold head guy expressed willingness to help because he had a reason to kill the aqua monster. It turned out that this was a mountain city built by his ancestors to deal with the Great Flood. Even if it was submerged, people could survive for a long time at the bottom. They lived here, waiting for the earth to return to its original form. But then, the aqua monster broke in and killed everyone. The bold head guy only survived by hiding in the warehouse. Under his leadership, the group quickly arrived near the nest. The youth pointed ahead. They would reach it through the final door. Looking in the direction he pointed, everyone instantly froze in place. The submarine that was originally supposed to assist them underwater appeared here out of nowhere, and 2 team members were tied to it. Catherine suddenly realized the danger and quickly directed everyone to move back. Before the words had finished, Crab Norton plunged down. The girl was captured by the aqua monster to be used as a container. She fought desperately but to no avail. Meanwhile, the companions who came to rescue encountered an ambush on the way. However, the aqua monster's attack did not cause any casualties. In order to save time, Catherine decided to let Caesar go first to rescue the villagers. She stayed behind to deal with the aqua monster alone, watching the octopus in front of her devour Rita. Catherine, angry, spared no effort and launched a full-scale attack. In an instant, the octopus's tentacles were being cut off one by one. Despite being continuously heavily injured, the octopus launched a final counterattack before dying. Catherine effortlessly dodged the attacks, then used the bridge to smash the aqua monster. After a series of attacks, the octopus was left gasping for breath. Catherine stepped forward without hesitation and beheaded the aqua monster. Meanwhile, the search and rescue team was surrounded by a group of pups. Both sides engaged in a fierce battle. The village chief, in order to save his life, attempted to flee during the confrontation. However, he was blocked as soon as he opened the iron gate of the tunnel. Seeing Jocko at the door, the village chief was momentarily stunned. Then he began to accuse him. Suddenly, Jocko's expression turned fierce. Jocko suddenly knocked down the village chief and frantically bit him on the ground. 2.5 seconds later, the village chief lost his life. Then Jocko slowly stood up. In a roar, he transformed into the aqua monster. Sonia, who witnessed it all, stood frozen in place. He had always regarded Jocko, who took care of him, as a father. Now that Jocko has changed like this, she finds it unacceptable. She tries to shout to awaken Jocko's sanity. But it didn't work. Instead, it caught the attention of the aqua monster, which pounced on him. Sonia couldn't dodge in time, and was bitten on the arm. At the critical moment, Catherine appeared just in time to save her. Park Gongtae, who had just regained consciousness, hurried over at this moment. Seeing his companion injured by the aqua monster, Park Gongtae lifted a baseball bat to strike at the aqua monster. Unexpectedly, he was stopped by Sonia, who is Jocko. Park Gongtae halted the attack upon hearing this. At the same time, He could not believe that the aqua monster in front of him was the former captain. When Catherine was about to deliver a fatal blow to the aqua monster, Park Gong-tae involuntarily stepped forward to block the attack. However, Catherine did not want to listen to his explanation. She leaped into the air and slashed at the aqua monster with her sword. At this moment, Sonia appeared again in front of them and blocked all of her attacks. She was seen shedding tears as she prayed, "He is Jocko. Please don't kill him. Even if he turns into an aqua monster, let him live like this." As soon as the words fell, a nearby mutant monster, who didn't know what was good for it, launched a sneak attack on him. Catherine saw the situation and her killing intent surged. Catherine cut him in half at the waist. At the same time, Caesar arrived at the food warehouse and saved the villagers from Aqua Monster. All this was guided by a young boy. The surviving villagers ran towards the exit one after another. After searching for a while, Caesar still couldn't see his sister. A sense of unease surged in Caesar's heart. Just as he was about to ask the villagers, Caesar unexpectedly saw his sister in the incubation container. Rita is being used as a container to hatch the offspring of the aqua monster. When Caesar rescued Rita, he found that she had already stopped breathing. Just as Caesar was overwhelmed with grief, a new crisis emerged. Countless baby monsters hatched from the aqua monster's mother body. A huge number surrounded the crowd in just 2.5 seconds. They roared and launched an attack towards the humans. In this critical moment, Rita, who was originally thought to be dead, slowly raised her arm. An invisible force suddenly immobilized the aqua monster in place. Rita then struggled free from Caesar's embrace and stood up. Rita's facial appearance also began to change gradually. The aura around her was so imposing that the aqua monster dared not move. When the teammates arrived, they were all shocked by this scene. But before they could figure out what was happening, Rita fell into a coma. Soon, everyone embarked on the journey back home. Caesar held his sister tightly in his arms. He now just wanted to return to their former life. But the others were on high alert, holding weapons, because they saw Jocko transform into a bloodthirsty aqua monster. Rita's appearance was exactly like when Jocko got infected. At the same time, another group of survivors boarded escape pods to leave one after another. However, the bold head guy, ignoring the children's cries, still stayed underwater. His elderly body could no longer adapt to the new environment. His only wish was for the two children to live a good life. And he still has one very important thing left to do. That is to seek revenge for his family, who once lived here. At the same time, it is also for the safety of his two children in the future. After a loud explosion, in an instant, seawater poured into the shelter. All the possessions were sucked into the escape tunnel by the rushing water. The shockwaves of the explosion made the escape pod tremble violently. Two children hugged each other tightly. Finally, at the moment when the door of the pod opened, they arrived in a new world. The villagers who received the notification arrived at the port as soon as possible. When they learned that Crab Norden had died, they all cheered loudly one by one. Some survivors who were abducted by the aqua monster were embraced by their families on shore, crying. Everyone is happy in this moment. Only Caesar walked out of the crowd holding his sister without saying a word. The villagers were puzzled by this scene. Not until the survivors spread the story of what happened under the sea in the crowd. But the heritage that emerged from the sea's surface left them with no time to think about it. It was late at night soon. The crowd had different opinions on Rita's current situation. Catherine insists that Rita may be the hope of humanity. Because they could safely return, it was all thanks to Rita. However, in the face of the soul-searching question posed by Sonia, she was temporarily unable to answer. If Rita were to turn into an aqua monster like Jocko, do you have the confidence to kill her with your own hands? On the other hand, Caesar discovered that his sister had already woken up. Would you have the heart to kill your loved ones if they turned into aqua monsters during the apocalypse? Rita, who escaped death from the container, fell into a coma. During this time, her consciousness wandered in the darkness. However, someone kept calling her name in her mind. Rita woke up from the coma only when she saw the person's face clearly. The family had originally thought they would return to their previous life. But that night, an accident happened. Rita's favorite grilled fish, which she usually loved, made her feel nauseous. Intense hunger forced her to gnaw on fresh fish. While she was enjoying the food, a strange smell wafted through the air. The smell made her body involuntarily run towards the source. In the blink of an eye, she arrived at the scene. Unexpectedly, what caught her eye was a ground full of corpses. She couldn't understand why the scent emanating from the corpses was so sweet. As she was in a daze, a strong man appeared in front of her and kicked her away. It turned out to be a gang of robbers preparing to keep the inheritance for themselves. Rita realized the danger and struggled desperately. In the panic, she bit the robber's palm. The taste of blood instantly made her feel a sense of pleasure. Seeing the girl licking the sweet blood, the strong man finally remembered that he was the person rumored to be infected by the aqua monster. He then continued to tease with the blood in his hand. Little did he know that this gesture would cost her life. The taste of blood made Rita feel dizzy. Rita raised her hand and swiftly beheaded the strong man. The sidekick was shocked and afraid. The sidekick picked up the machine gun in hand and started shooting wildly. However, Rita's speed was so fast that the sidekick couldn't lock onto her at all. In an instant, Rita had already subdued a robber and pinned him to the ground. Just as she was about to handle another sidekick, the patrolling villagers interrupted Rita's attack. The bandits seemed to have caught onto a life-saving straw and called out loudly for help. At the same time, taking advantage of Rita's distraction, the bandit launched a surprise attack. Unexpectedly, Rita's wound from the dagger mutated and grew into a fleshy lump. The villagers were scared and prepared to shoot. However, Sonia stepped out of the crowd to stop them. She wanted to personally deal with this aqua monster without any personal emotions. Rita, who had lost her composure, also rushed towards her at that moment. Sonia waved the sword in her hand to defend herself. After a few rounds, Sonia managed to knock Rita to the ground. "I won't let you suffer." After saying that, Sonia was about to launch a fatal blow. At that moment, Caesar suddenly appeared and stopped Sonia. Ignoring Sonia's obstruction, Caesar shouted his sister's name. He tightly held Rita in his arms when she pounced towards him. Even when bitten badly, he refused to let go. Caesar just kept comforting Rita non-stop. Then he pulled the dagger out of Rita's body. Under his handling, Rita's emotions gradually calmed down. The flesh ball on the body also began to slowly dissipate. Childhood memories surfaced in Rita's mind at this moment. Rita's mother died right after she was born. As Rita grew up, she worked hard to do everything well, so that she would not be disliked by her father and brother. Rita just wanted to receive recognition from her family. But now Rita has become an aqua monster. The feeling of guilt makes Rita unable to bear crying anymore. Watching all this from afar, Catherine holds a weapon in her hand. She cannot make a move, even though Rita has turned into an aqua monster. Currently, Catherine realizes that the only way to cure Rita is to find Dr. Curly. After some contemplation, Catherine has made a decision. She wants to bring Rita back to Busan Alliance. This Dr. Curly is a pervert. The aqua monster, feared by everyone, is kept as a pet by him. He even spends a lot of money buying various organs for it to feast on. To help the aqua monster grow quickly, Caesar is trying to cure his sister infected by the aqua monster. After saying goodbye to the villagers, the group set off on a journey to find Dr. Curly. But the Busan Alliance is floating unpredictably. It is as difficult to find the Busan Alliance in the sea as it is to climb to the sky. Luckily, Catherine used to work at Busan Alliance. Therefore, Catherine also understands some of their operational trajectories. 3 days later, outside of Triangle Port, humans from various places gather here because it is recognized as a trading place by everyone. They can exchange goods they hold in their hands here. Even the large Busan Alliance is no exception. When this news was obtained from Catherine, Everyone came here to wait for it for the first time. However, in order to sneak into the Busan Alliance without a sound, Catherine originally intended to use the relationship with an old acquaintance to ask the person responsible for the Triangle Port to help out. Unexpectedly, Yellow Hair Guy decisively refused. After all, he didn't want to bring big trouble upon himself. But Triangle Port has one iron rule: debts must be repaid. Caesar's father once saved Yellow Hair Guy's life. Yellow Hair Guy is facing the request of his benefactor son. Yellow Hair Guy reluctantly agrees to help. Under the leadership of Yellow Hair Guy, the three of them boarded the cargo ship for the trade with the Busan Alliance. They had Rita hide in one of the boxes, while Polka Dot put on hats and scarves to avoid being recognized by the Busan Alliance's people. Soon, they arrived at the trading location. Polka Dot pushed the cargo containing Rita onto the ship with the help of the others. They thought everything would go smoothly, but they were unexpectedly stopped and asked to inspect the cargo. At that moment, everyone's heart was in their throat. When the person slowly lifted the tarp and saw that it was Rita, they were momentarily stunned. Then, the person casually waved their hand as if to indicate that everything was fine. It turned out that he was Jiho Lee, who was responsible for registering Caesar and his sister initially. When the siblings were in danger back then, he had also helped out. So when he saw Rita for the first time, he recognized her immediately. Now the three of them can appear safely here. Jiho Lee was also genuinely happy. After understanding Caesar's purpose for coming here, Jiho Lee couldn't help but feel a little worried. Due to the outbreak of fish plague, the place is no longer as prosperous as before. In order to prevent the epidemic from spreading, the distribution of drinking water has been implemented. This has caused the water price to be as high as gold. Some refugees cannot afford the expensive price and die of thirst. Some people take the risk to steal drinking water for their families. However, if caught, they will be beaten up. Watching the scene in front of her, Catherine was burning with anger and ready to take action. Jiho Lee hurriedly stopped her. At this moment, a mysterious young man suddenly appeared and kicked the security guard away. Then he encouraged the refugees to come and get water. The security guard on the side saw this and picked up a machine gun, preparing to shoot him. At a critical moment, Caesar intervened. Due to his interference, all the bullets hit the water barrels. This instantly caused the refugees present to rush forward with containers. Caesar and the others then prepared to slip away with the young man amidst the chaos. Rita, however, remained stunned in place. She suddenly felt someone calling out to her. Then, ignoring Caesar's calls, she followed the voice and left. She is an upper-class person who does not have to worry about food or clothing. Yet she spends her days with the lower-class refugees. By a stroke of luck, she found her home here. Originally, everything was progressing in a positive direction. But everything changed after Lisa accidentally discovered this mysterious object. One by one, the refugees who came into contact with the mysterious object that day were infected with the fish plague. Lisa was no exception. To prevent the spread of the disease, the authorities threw the infected individuals into the ocean. However, after researching and analyzing by Dr. Curley, it was discovered that this plague does not cause harm to the human body. Even so, in order to save resources, the higher-ups still chose to expel the infected. Mate scoffed at their actions. In the end, Mate chose to stand by the refugees. After causing a scene, Mate left the Busan Alliance with Lisa. Now his daughter Rita has unfortunately been infected by the aqua monster. In order to change Rita back to a normal person, the siblings must return here. After learning about Rita's situation, Dr. Curley seemed to have discovered a new path. He speculated that Rita may have experienced genetic mutations due to her mother's exposure to fish plague in the past. Caesar was awakened, as if from a dream, by these words. No wonder he could stay underwater longer than the average person. The doctor then explained that in this apocalypse where only the oceans exist, humans can only survive in the long term by continuously evolving. So he refused to treat Rita. He just wanted to study her body carefully. because Rita may be the key to the future evolution of mankind. There was a loud noise coming from the container behind during the conversation. Rita also heard some kind of call at this moment. Curiosity drove everyone to move forward to look. But as Caesar got closer and closer, he became more and more afraid. When he saw the creature in the container clearly, he was stunned on the spot. It turned out to be Kentras, one of the 7 Aqualords, who had perished with his father. Everyone present was incredulous at how Bodo could have done this. Because Kentras possesses superior intelligence, a slight oversight on his part could lead to irreversible destruction here. Caesar feels that Bodo has gone mad. He cannot entrust his sister to a madman. As everyone was about to leave, the captain led a large group of men and horses to block their way. The doctor took the opportunity to inject tranquilizers into Caesar's body. The captain, who hadn't seen his subordinate for many years, smiled and said he had no ill intentions. He just wanted to have a good talk with Catherine. Catherine saw that the other party had more people and could only choose to cooperate obediently. Soon the two of them arrived outside on the deck. The captain cut to the chase and expressed his wish for Catherine to reassume the position of team leader of the Fork Killer Squad. She would also be in charge of the security issues of the Busan Alliance as before. Because there have been successive riots among the refugees now, they need a prominent figure to give the refugees hope. And Catherine, who climbed up from the bottom, is the most suitable choice. As an exchange condition, the captain will also make every effort to help cure Rita and let the siblings inherit their mother's status. The next day, Caesar just woke up from a coma. A low voice sounded in Caesar's ear. "Lord Caesar, welcome home." The girl has a physique that is different from normal people. She will go out of control and rampage as long as she smells blood. Currently, the only way to turn her back into a normal human is to seek help from the doctor. For the safety of her companions, Catherine eventually agreed to the captain's conditions. Under Catherine's influence, the number of people signing up for the Fork Killer in the lower levels is increasing, because they see hope of escaping poverty from Catherine. The captain also kept his promise to let Caesar and his sister inherit their mother-in-law's family status. This family is one of the top 10 shareholders on the ship. They are in charge of the food production equipment. Here they are enjoying food like they have never seen before. Even apples worth 10 bars of gold are served on the plates. The luxurious lifestyle reminded Caesar of the impoverished refugees. He couldn't bear to see those people being beaten for a bottle of water. After some consideration, he decided to go look for Catherine. Unexpectedly, he encountered his former enemy Dojin along the way. They started fighting as soon as they met. However, Caesar is no longer the useless person he was years ago. He subdued Dojin with just one move. And as long as he has the intention, he can make Dojin disappear completely now. At this time, the steward walked out from the side and scolded Dojin. Master Caesar is now the legally recognized heir of the Na family, and one of the major shareholders of the Busan Alliance. Have you thought about what consequences you would face if you make a move against him? Dojin stood still upon hearing this. Caesar was even more infuriated to learn that Catherine had returned, gritting his teeth in anger. Meanwhile, Rita arrived at the room where she had lived a few years ago. Everything in front of her was exactly the same as it was years ago. The seed she had cultivated by hand had now bloomed into flowers. Suddenly, a young man appeared behind her, interrupting her thoughts. Rita recognized him at a glance as the person who had disrupted the order that day. The two exchanged smiles and chatted about everyday life. Following the guidance of the young man, Rita saw the sunset for the first time. At the same time, Kim Jin also shared his dream. He wanted to become a fork killer like Mate. Not only can he slay aqua monsters, but he will also step forward in times of crisis for the people. In him, Rita seemed to see the figure of her brother. Therefore, Rita also developed a different kind of feeling towards him. Little did they know that the next time they met, they were already in different worlds. On the other side, Caesar found Catherine and wanted to retrieve his father's weapon. He wants to become the fork killer to protect his partner. Caesar has a feeling that Kentrus is not being controlled. Kentrus is just observing and waiting for an opportunity. This mutant creature has an IQ of up to 270. It transformed its tentacles into a human form. Through self-study, it opened the container that was holding it. The freed aqua monster launched a frenzied retaliation. Humans were powerless against him. The fork killer ran into the refugee area and quickly closed the passage. Just when they thought they were safe, the aqua monster had already learned how to use switches. At the moment the passage opened, the entire refugee camp turned into the aqua monster's hunting ground. At this moment, the fork killer team rushed to the scene. Iron Fist Guy, in order to reclaim his position as the captain, burst with endless fighting spirit. He vowed to kill Kentrus, one of the 7 Aqua Lords, at all costs. Before he could react, the aqua monster's claws came crashing down from the sky, instantly knocking him into the ground, rendering him incapable of fighting. The refugees who had thought they would be rescued found themselves falling into despair. To survive, they ran frantically towards the exit. But the exit door had been securely locked by the high-ranking officials. Just as things were hanging by a thread, Caesar arrived in time. Under his command, all the fork killers started shooting with their guns. Despite the aqua monster's tough skin, under the continuous attack it began to lose a large amount of blood. At this moment, Polka Dot descended from the sky. Instantly, they forced the aqua monster to retreat step by step. With the tacit cooperation of the two, the aqua monster's tentacles were cut off one by one. Just as Catherine was about to deliver a fatal blow, she was suddenly shot through the body from afar. Taking advantage of the situation, the aqua monster swung its tentacles and set Catherine flying. It turned out that Dojin had chosen to ambush Catherine to prevent her from becoming a hero. This allowed the aqua monster to break free from the encirclement. Seeing the aqua monster that everyone risked their lives to capture being let go, Catherine was burning with rage. Catherine threw her weapon and knocked Dojin off the high platform. She is now going to execute Dojin on the grounds of obstructing the fork killer's mission. After speaking, Catherine decapitated him in one stroke. Catherine also fell into a coma due to serious injuries. Meanwhile, Rita discovered Kim Jan's tragic death. When the villagers told her that Kim Jan was killed by the higher-ups for helping refugees, Rita's power was unleashed at that moment. She arrived at the headquarters of the Busan Alliance, glaring at them intently. The aqua monster, breaking through the blockade, leaped forward. It seemed to sense Rita's anger towards those people. The aqua monster swung its claws towards the executives in the headquarters. In the blink of an eye, it tore the whole conference room apart. After completing these tasks, Aqua Monster held Rita in his hand. Caesar hurried over and saw this scene, roaring for his sister to leave there. Rita reassured him not to worry, as she felt that Aqua Monster was protecting her. At this moment, Sonia suddenly descended from the sky. Instantly rescued Rita from the Aqua Monster's grasp. Caesar launched an attack without any worries. After a fierce battle, Aqua Monster was finally killed. Caesar then approached Rita. Upon seeing his sister return to her original form, he instantly breathed a sigh of relief. This accident caused 9 out of the 10 major shareholders of the Busan Alliance to die. Caesar thus became the ultimate ruler. A conspiracy of human nature will gradually unfold. The girl had 18 tentacles growing behind her. With these tentacles, she can command numerous marine creatures. With her help, humans successfully killed the deep-sea demon. However, this fierce battle also caused heavy casualties among humans. A large number of wounded soldiers faced the dilemma of having no medicine available. Rita also fell unconscious and has not woken up since the battle. In order to solve this problem, Caesar found the 2 leaders responsible for drug supply in the Busan Alliance. Unexpectedly, the exchange condition they proposed was the right to manage the water supply. Caesar fell into deep thought upon hearing this. Water sources are as valuable as gold in this apocalypse. If the management rights are handed over to them, who only care about their own interests, there will surely be a riot among the lower-class refugees. But he soon came up with a solution. Caesar gathered all the senior members of the Busan Alliance together. He publicly showed everyone the high-priced acquisition of the drugs from the 2 leaders of the Huma faction. Actually, he was expressing his own position. He said that if anyone profited from a disaster, he would use his power to confiscate these assets from the organizations involved. And he will make sure that these people pay the price they deserve. Caesar's momentum suddenly scared the 2 generals, who immediately bowed and apologized. They expressed their willingness to provide medical supplies unconditionally. Under the effect of the medicine, all the wounded soldiers began to gradually recover. But Catherine still shows no sign of waking up. Until the man appeared in Catherine's dream. Here she can express the feelings that have been sealed in her heart to the man. Although she knows it's false, Catherine is still very happy. But in reality, this is the scene. At the same time, Rita begins to mutate and cannot change back to a normal person. She dares not tell Caesar about this and chooses to bear it alone. At this moment, the aqua monster scene of transforming the townspeople with its tentacles inspired her. Rita was enveloped in tentacles, only to see the tentacles starting to merge into the body. If I am destined never to become a human, then I will become an aqua monster to protect them. On the other side, Catherine wakes up from unconsciousness. Rita also appears before everyone at this moment. The 3 of them, unharmed, embrace tightly at this moment. The Busan Alliance began to operate smoothly after Catherine woke up. The market has regained its former prosperity. However, the threat from the aqua monster from the ocean has not been eliminated. Rita sensed the aura of death. One of the 7 aqua wards in the deep sea far away is searching for Rita's aura. The sunken cruise ship appeared in the girl's dream after 100 years. At the same time, a deep-sea aqua monster is guarding it. In order to uncover the secrets of the cruise ship, the siblings began to search for information. But there were still no clues. So the 2 of them didn't think about it anymore. But just when the girl was playing, a mysterious aqua monster appeared out of nowhere. The terrifying appearance made Rita too scared to move. Found you. So you were here. After saying that, the aqua monster disappeared into thin air. Rita was so scared by this scene that she collapsed on the ground. The traces on the grass indicated that this was not an illusion. At that moment, Rita felt danger approaching. In a hurry, she ran towards the deck. She saw the cruise ship from her dream floating on the sea. It was sailing rapidly towards the Busan Alliance. At the same time, the captain also spotted the cruise ship's trace and immediately ordered them to stop. However, there was no response. The next moment, the cruise ship collided directly with the Busan Alliance's hull. A large amount of seawater rushed into the cabin through the broken hole. Some refugees did not have time to escape and were swept into the sea by the water flow. But the danger is far from over. Countless tentacles stretched out from the cruise ship. In unison, they surged towards the crowd. The refugees touched by the tentacles turned into mummies in an instant. More and more humans were at risk of losing their lives. Polka Dot appeared instantly and swiftly severed the tentacles. Then, they directed the survivors to move to the upper level in order to prevent the aqua monster from pursuing further. The Fork Killer team collectively mobilized to join the fight. With their united efforts, they quickly killed off the tentacles. But before everyone could catch their breath, the severed tentacles began to regenerate. They reassembled in one place. The next second, a larger aqua monster emerged from the tentacles. At the same time, in Greenwind Harbor and Triangle Port, Floating City came under attack from the 7 aqua ward. Among them, Tuka from the Busan Alliance was the most powerful, as he could ignore any physical attacks. This made it impossible for the Fork Killer team to resist. At this critical moment of life and death, Rita appeared in front of the aqua monster. She said, "I'm here, aren't you looking for me?" Tuka was attracted by Rita's voice. She put down the Fork Killer squad in her hands, chasing towards Rita's direction. Rita also knew the demon's purpose for coming, so she had to step forward to protect humans, even if it meant risking her own life. Meanwhile, the captain outside the deck took advantage of the moment when Aqua Monster and Rita were facing each other. The captain ordered to fire the flamethrower, ready to annihilate the Aqua Monster in one fell swoop. With a deafening roar, the entire deck was covered in flames. At this moment, Tuka swung his tentacles and slammed them against the deck, instantly splitting the whole small boat into two. Rita and the Aqua Monster also fell into the water as a result. Upon seeing his sister in danger, Caesar rushed over without hesitation and jumped into the deep sea. In every place, there can only be one ruler. Even the vast ocean with numerous creatures is no exception. When Aqua Queen discovered a threat to her existence, she dispatched the 7 Aqua Lord Tuka to the Busan Alliance at once. They were prepared to eliminate Rita, who had not yet fully matured. But Rita had no intention of competing for the position of Aqua Queen. She only hopes that humans can maintain peace with the Aqua Monster. Facing persuasion, Tuka remained indifferent. Tuka stretched out her tentacles, ready to drain Rita's flesh and blood. At this moment, Caesar suddenly launched a surprise attack from behind. Before the others could react, a wrecked ship rapidly sank from the sea surface and instantly pressed Tuka into the seabed. However, this did not cause any harm to her. After breaking free, Tuka chased after Caesar. Seeing her brother in danger, Rita erupted with hidden power. Today, she was determined to kill this Aqua Monster. But Tuka's regenerative ability is extremely powerful. The severed parts instantly regenerated. Then, taking advantage of Rita's momentary relaxation, Tuka swung out her tentacles. Rita failed to dodge in time and was hit in a vital spot. Shortly after, Rita's body gradually lost vitality. Caesar, upon seeing the situation, wanted to go up and rescue. He was suddenly stopped by the tentacles that came out of nowhere. It turns out that body was just an illusion created by Rita. Moreover, it was filled with toxins. After inhaling it, Tuka's body began to disintegrate. Seeing this scene, Rita inserted her tentacles into Tuka's body. Rita continued to feast on the remaining flesh and blood. Only in this way could Rita completely eliminate him. At the same time, a large amount of seawater surged into the cabin. This also caused the entire hull to start tilting. Some refugees fell into the water one after another. It looked as though the Busan Alliance was going to sink because of this. Rita emerged from the sea bottom. She fixed her tentacles at the entrance of the cave. Caesar hurriedly asked her to retract her tentacles. He didn't want humans to treat his sister as the Aqua Monster. But there's no turning back now. Rita knows that she is the only one who can save the Busan Alliance. She must do something for humanity, even if it means becoming the Aqua Monster in others' eyes. With a roar, countless tentacles appeared behind Rita. In the blink of an eye, they covered the entire opening of the cave. The enormous ship's hull pressed against Rita, making it hard for her to breathe. Her body felt like it was being torn apart, causing immense pain. Just as Rita felt like she couldn't hold on any longer, a large number of Aqua Monsters emerged from the water. They plunged into the cabin, expelling all the seawater through their bodies. With the help of Aqua Monster, the ship gradually regained its balance. At this point, Rita also finished repairing the hull. Eventually, Rita fell into the deep sea after exhausting all of her strength. Caesar grabbed her tightly to prevent her from falling further. Caesar continued to shout his sister's name. Rita slowly opened her eyes after hearing the voice. But she directed the tentacles beside her to bite her brother, because she knew she had already caught the attention of all the Aqua Monsters. She knew that leaving was the only way to keep humans safer. At the same time, it was also for the sake of the people she cared about to live well. Caesar watched helplessly as his sister disappeared into the darkness, feeling a surge of self-blame and powerlessness. The seemingly delicate little girl actually possesses the ability to control marine creatures. Aqua Queen is determined to eliminate this potential threat. Send out the 7 Aqua Lord to attack the human stronghold. In just one day, the world's population was reduced by 30%. Rita, not wanting anyone to be harmed, chose to leave alone. However, Aquamonster's actions have also greatly angered humans. All survivors of the Busan Alliance are gathered together at this moment. They have decided to take the initiative to attack and punish the deep-sea aquamonster. The first thing to determine is the direction of the attack. Caesar remembered what his sister had once said. Rita saw in a dream that the aquamonster's lair was near the cruise ship. Meanwhile, Tuka launched an attack on Busan Alliance aboard the cruise ship. If Caesar can find the location where this ship sank, and with the help of the black box on the cruise ship, they can find the hiding place of the aquamonster. With the help of the little genius, they quickly found the exact coordinates. The cruise ship is located near Heavenly Yellow Sea Mountain in the Central Pacific Ocean. With this clue, everyone heads to Floating City for a meeting. Because Floating City is now humanity's last stronghold. It is as large as 6 Busan alliances combined. At this moment, a shout rose from the crowd. It's a shield beast. Upon hearing this name, Catherine quickly looked around to locate the source of the voice. The scene before her made her freeze in place instantly. The aquamonster that killed her parents should have been dealt with by her own hands. But now someone else has beat her to it. She can't help but feel a little disappointed. At the same time, she is also curious about who is so powerful to be able to kill the shield beast. Sonia saw her thoughts and pointed to the side. The only one who can kill the 7 devils here is the 6-star fork killer Clark Miller. Out of respect for the strong, Caesar went up to say hello. Unexpectedly, he was ignored on the spot. Miller went straight to Sonia and hugged her. Faced with the man's unreasonable actions, Sonia couldn't muster any strength to resist. As a former teammate, she knew Miller's strength very well. She felt like an ant in front of him. Fortunately, Iron Fist Guy stepped in to defuse the situation. Miller glanced at the tattoo on his arm. Miller then showed a disdainful expression. "I am disappointed that you are teammates with these trash," he said. This statement instantly fueled Caesar's anger. Caesar immediately prepared to confront Miller on the spot. After exchanging a glance for a second, both of them threw punches at the same time. At this moment, Catherine suddenly appeared and separated them. "Are we gathering here to fight each other?" she said. Miller hesitated slightly upon seeing the woman in front of him. The red star emblem is obtained by killing the 7 Aqualord. Miller changed his previous attitude and shook hands. "I am looking for a fork killer like you. If you join my team, I can offer you the position of vice captain." Catherine resolutely refused upon hearing this. After all, she would not consider any conditions. Meanwhile, Dr. Curly compared the research data left on the cruise ship. He finally found the secret to unraveling the mystery of the aquamonster. Over half of the global population died or were injured in a single day. The aquamonster's attack not only caused them to lose their loved ones, but also destroyed their homes, which were crucial for survival. In order to seek revenge, all members of the Busan Alliance gathered together. They decided to take the initiative to search for the aquamonster's nest. Even at this time, there are people calculating their own interests. They are already thinking about competing for land after the war has not even begun. Watching their greedy appearance, Dr. Curly brought an even more terrifying message. Since the unexplained massive explosion in the Pacific Ocean 130 years ago, an absolute ruler appeared in the ocean. He has nurtured countless mutated seeds and spread them all over the sea, currently being monitored by seismographs. A larger explosion will occur shortly. More mutated seeds will be spread around the world at that time. And the seeds will give birth to even more aquamonsters. The Earth will be completely ruled by aquamonsters. However, the people present thought that Dr. Curly was just crying wolf. They only completely believed after seeing the research data left on the cruise ship. In the end, the World Union decided to bomb the deep-sea lair unconditionally. With the help of Green Wind Harbor, hundreds of bombs were salvaged from the sea. They were disassembled and reassembled into deep-sea bombs. After completing thorough pre-war preparations, with the captain's command, all Busan Alliance ships set sail towards the center of the Pacific at this moment. Meanwhile, Rita hid in a cave deep in the ocean, constantly searched by aqua monsters around her. She only dared to go out to forage when she was hungry. She is trying hard to adapt survival methods in the sea. Occasionally, when feeling lonely, she would sneak a peek at her brother. Despite her caution, she was still found by Gordy of the Seven Aqua Lord. However, at this critical moment, Rita also awakened the power within her. On the other side, after 5 days of sailing of the Busan Alliance ship, the sky began to darken with thick clouds. Countless aqua monsters surrounded them. At the same time, a group of waves formed by aqua monsters came crashing towards them. The timid people shivered all over when they saw this scene. They watched as the aqua monsters came closer and closer. Each four-killer team picked up their machine guns and opened fire. However, there were numerous aqua monsters. The smaller boats were overturned by them in an instant. Polka Dot rushed to the sea surface to rescue the drowning people. At this moment, Miller walked towards the deck with a grim look on his face. He swung the weapon in his hand and killed the aqua monsters in front of him one by one. At this moment, he looked more like an aqua monster than the aqua monsters themselves. There was no emotion in his eyes, as he faced the aqua monster rushing onto the deck continuously. He threw the spear in his hand. The next second, the spear summoned a thunderbolt. In an instant, the lightning flashed in all directions. The powerful electric current instantly killed all the aqua monsters. Caesar was shocked at the scene. It is a creature standing at the pinnacle of this world. Not only does it possess high intelligence, it can also command all marine life. In the coming months, it will completely dominate the Earth. In order to defend their homeland, humans are gathering together to take the initiative to attack and punish the Aqua Queen. But just one small-scale war cost humanity half of its fighting strength. This has caused some people to begin to have second thoughts. But now the time to the big explosion is getting closer and closer. Humans can only gamble their lives to go to battle. After sailing on the sea for 6 days, a huge floating object appeared in front of them. It is an island made up of marine debris. Upon inspection, they unexpectedly discovered traces of human habitation. Everyone immediately became alert. At this moment, the figure of a little girl appeared on a container in the distance. Caesar was about to step forward to inquire. Unexpectedly, the little girl turned and ran when she saw them. Then, a few old men emerged from the container with weapons in hand. Caesar quickly explained his intentions. "We are here to settle the score with the four-killer of Aqua Monster, with no malicious intent. We will leave once the ship is repaired." The old man lowered his weapon upon seeing the emblem of the Busan Alliance. He shouted out to the other humans hiding around him. Looking around, they were all elderly, weak, sick, or disabled. They all knelt down one after another. The old man on the side saw the confusion of the crowd. He said, "This is the territory of the 7 evil demon Kraken. Young people have died in battle with him. Now, with the arrival of the four-killer, they seem to see hope." Then the residents brought out delicious food to entertain the four-killer. They hope the four-killers can help them solve the Kraken. On the other side, the little girl found Caesar and asked a question. "Why do you choose to fight even though the Aqua Monster is so powerful?" Caesar replied that he is someone he must protect. But he did not expect what the little girl said next, which sent shivers down his spine. She said, "You want to protect Rita, right? The previous owner of this necklace also said the same thing." At the same time, the residents here all took off their disguises. It turns out they were pirates who operated nearby, specializing in robbery. They put sleeping pills in the food to make four-killer fall asleep. Seizing the opportunity, under the command of the pirate leader, they stormed into the cabin and launched an indiscriminate attack. Just as Killer was getting excited to kill, Catherine emerged from the darkness. The two sidekicks laughed mockingly when they saw it was a woman. The next second, Catherine began her massacre. In an instant, she left them dead on the spot. Immediately after, Catherine charged into the crowd. The sound of screams instantly echoed throughout the entire deck. On the other side, Miller noticed something unusual and began to fight back. Vigilant and cautious, Miller never eats food given by strangers. Under his leadership, the pirates were killed one by one. Having received the information, Caesar interrogated the girl, asking if she was an accomplice. The girl, however, claimed that she was just observing. She said, "Why do humans always kill each other?" It wasn't until now that she understood. It turns out that humans also desire to unify their kingdoms just like her. Moreover, the person I swallowed initially should have been your mother. Even though she's dead, she has been interfering with my will. Upon hearing this, Caesar's spine turned cold, and he asked, "Who are you?" She is the absolute ruler of this planet. All marine creatures bowed down to her. However, a human has appeared with the ability to control aqua monsters just like her. This has made her feel an unprecedented crisis. In order to protect her kingdom, Aqua Queen transforms into a little girl and negotiates with Caesar. As long as Rita is handed over, humans can continue to exist. But the fate of humanity cannot be determined by aqua monsters. Moreover, Caesar is unlikely to exchange his sister for temporary peace. Seeing the negotiation fail, Aqua Queen issues a threat before disappearing on the spot. The next second, the seven evil demon Kraken emerges from the seabed. He receives the Aqua Queen's command to kill all humans here. When everyone saw the situation, they were discussing countermeasures. Caesar stood alone in front of the Kraken. In his eyes, any creature that harmed his sister was only heading for a dead end. Even when facing the 100-foot-tall aqua monster, he showed no fear at all. At this moment, Caesar entered a berserk state. Under his frenzied attacks, the tendrils of the Kraken were cut off one after another. However, the aqua monster's formidable vitality completely ignored these injuries. Seizing the opportunity when Caesar relaxed, the Kraken swung its tentacles. The powerful impact instantly slammed Caesar into the ruins. Then the Kraken charged into the crowd. Those who couldn't escape in time turned into a pile of flesh. More and more people were seen perishing as a result. Catherine appeared immediately to stop the tragedy from continuing. The other teammates arrived swiftly by Caesar's side. At that moment, the four-killer team formed a perfect group. With Catherine's command, all members launched an attack towards the Kraken. After their seamless coordination, the Kraken's tentacles began to decrease gradually. On the other side, Miller directed his team members to assist Caesar on the side. They used steel wires to tightly restrain Kraken. Seeing this, Caesar leaped into the air, channeling all his strength into his weapon. With a furious shout, the head of Kraken was split into two. The seven Aqua Ward. Do you still know how many are left? At the moment when the aqua monster fell, everyone couldn't suppress the joy in their hearts, because they saw the hope of defeating the Aqua Queen. The originally low morale surged at this moment. But before everyone could be happy for long, a red light suddenly appeared on the sea, shooting straight up into the sky. It meant that the Aqua Queen had declared war on humans personally. She chose to reveal the location of her nest, and waited for the Busan Alliance to come and attack. After some observation, they found out. Currently, the Busan Alliance is only half a day away from the nest's location. However, for the sake of absolute certainty, Miller provided a detailed explanation of the battle plan before departure. They chose to start the battle at the slowest time of noon at Aqua Monster. Just need to sail the bomb-filled ship directly above the nest. At that time, they can throw the bombs to destroy the nest. But before that, everyone must try their best to protect the ships filled with bombs. And this is destined to be a deadly and heavy casualty battle. Knowing that you may die tomorrow, what would you do? Some in the Busan Alliance enjoy a peaceful last night, while others are ready and waiting eagerly. Some are quietly waiting for the arrival of dawn. The final battle is approaching quickly. The sailors will lead the doctor to explore the seabed first. Their task is to install a locator near the nest. Through the device, the accurate coordinates will be relayed to the Busan Alliance. At this point, they are just 1,000 meters away from the target. At that moment, Aqua Queen also gave the order. Go and kill all the humans for me." The next second, countless aqua monsters surged out of their nest. The aqua monsters ignored the burning sunlight and charged out of the sea. In the blink of an eye, a tide of beasts rushed towards the Busan Alliance. The warriors at the forefront had already prepared for a fight to the death. They picked up weapons and struggled to keep the aqua monsters at bay, hoping to exchange their own lives for victory in this battle. However, the aqua monsters were numerous in number. Even though the soldiers fought to the death, it was to no avail. After a few moments, the ships at the front line were all crushed by the aqua monsters. At this moment, the cruise ship filled with bombs is only 5,000 meters away from the nest. As they get closer to the destination, more aqua monsters emerge from the sea. Miller saw the situation and ordered his subordinate Fort Killer to counterattack. The sound of gunfire immediately echoed through the sky. However, their attack did not weaken Aqua Monster. Some Aqua Monsters used their companions' corpses to climb onto the deck. Seeing the opportunity, Catherine fired a signal flare. On the other side, team members who received the order poured oil into the sea. Then the Busan Alliance spewed flames, causing the entire sea surface to ignite in a huge fire. All Aqua Monsters perished in this operation. Just when everyone thought it was safe, a huge figure flashed past the bottom of the ship. Then she ignored the surrounding flames and dashed out of the sea surface. She used her own body to smash into the ship. With just one blow, she brought down and destroyed the Sao Paulo. However, the danger did not stop there. Her next target was the Manhattan. Miller quickly ordered the deployment of mines to prevent her from approaching. However, she swiftly dodged the mines with incredible speed. She instantly arrived in front of the Manhattan. At this critical moment, the 7 demons suddenly appeared and Gordy fought with her. They ripped and bit each other in front of the surprised crowd. Gradually, she began to fall behind. 2.5 seconds later, Gordy leaped out of the sea with her head in his mouth. At this moment, Rita's figure appeared on the broken ship in the distance. Caesar was not happy to see his sister arrive. Instead, he asked her to leave quickly. Faced with her brother's accusation, Rita's gaze was firm. She no longer wanted to continue living a life of hiding and evasion. And she was no longer fighting alone. She told Caesar not to worry about herself. Hurry to destroy the nest, because Rita can now command most of the Aqua Monsters. Meanwhile, Aqua Queen sensed Rita's presence at this moment. Aqua Queen said, "Go kill her for me." For a moment, all Aqua Monsters fought each other. Seeing Rita create an opportunity for herself, the captain quickly commanded the ship to advance at full speed. At this moment, the Busan Alliance was only 200 meters away from the nest. This Aqua Monster, which looks like a baby, exudes a dominating aura from birth. She not only possesses endless vitality, but can also command all marine life. This has led her to conceive the idea of controlling the entire Earth. But humans are not easy targets to manipulate. They gathered a large amount of ammunition to destroy the Aqua Monster's lair. Just as they were about to open the hatch and throw the bombs into the water, countless tentacles emerged from the seabed. In the blink of an eye, the Busan Alliance ship was engulfed. The hatch also got stuck tightly and could not be opened. Then, a huge figure appeared before everyone, only to see that figure swiftly swinging its tentacles. Several unfortunate souls, who were not in the safe house, were instantly dismembered. Seeing Aqua Queen's aggressive attitude, Catherine couldn't bear it. She raised her knife and swung it down. But before she could get close, she was surrounded by tentacles. Then her body was pinned to the wall by the tentacles and unable to move. The so-called villains die from talking too much. Even the Aqua Queen is no exception. Take the opportunity while Aqua Queen is talking to Catherine. Caesar sneaked up from behind to launch a sneak attack. Seeing this scene, the teammates hiding in the dark rushed out together. Under the successive attacks, Aqua Queen was caught off guard. To their surprise, Aqua Queen completely ignored the damage they caused. The wounds on their bodies healed completely after a few breaths. Her strong regenerative ability put the four-killer squad in a fierce battle. However, they showed no fear whatsoever, because everyone has something they must protect. At this moment, Iron Fist Guy seems to have discovered a weakness in Aqua Queen's waist. He unleashes his maximum firepower to break through the encirclement. But Aqua Queen doesn't give him a chance at all. With a swish, several tentacles open behind her. Then countless spikes shoot out from the tentacles, attempting to pierce the bodies of the four-killer squad. However, these spikes alone are completely unable to stop their advance. Iron Fist Guy takes the lead, charging ahead on the front line, using his own body to pave the way for his teammates. Even though he is pierced with countless holes, he still does not retreat. With his help, the two of them successfully arrived in front of Aqua Queen. At this moment, they bear the fate of all mankind. With this hope, they exerted all their strength and slashed towards the root of Aqua Queen. However, this blow did not cut it off completely. Just as they were about to try again, Aqua Queen swung out its tentacles and hit the two of them. The powerful impact instantly slammed them into the ruins. Before Aqua Queen could catch its breath, Iron Fist Guy suddenly appeared and went crazy with his punches. Unfortunately, due to the serious injuries, he didn't hold back and shattered the root with several consecutive punches. Aqua Queen, who was gradually recovering, launched a counterattack. Countless spikes surged out from the ground, instantly turning Iron Fist Guy into a hedgehog. Seeing the situation, the companion wanted to step forward to help. However, they were powerless to defend against the fierce attacks of Aqua Queen's storm-like onslaught. At this moment, Aqua Queen lifted Iron Fist Guy high up. She said, "Humans are really fragile. If you have a few holes in your body, you can't move." After saying that, she casually tossed his body aside, then walked slowly towards Sonya and spoke softly. She said, "Disappear in despair." Just as she was about to make a move, a furious shout came from behind her. They only saw Miller appearing in front of everyone with a long spear in hand. This child has had a penchant for killing since birth. At the age of 5, they started brutally killing various animals. At the age of 8, they killed their own brother in order to study the mysteries of the human body. The father deeply understands that if left unchecked, they will eventually become an aqua monster. However, when faced with his own son, he could never bring himself to take action. So the father told Miller, "Go become the fork killer. The aqua monster in the sea is free for you to kill." Since then, the pleasure of hunting and killing the aqua monster has been irresistible to Miller. At the young age of 18, he gained the title of the strongest fork killer. Now I've seen the legendary Aqua Queen with my own eyes. He can't contain the restlessness in his heart. His figure dodges all sudden attacks like a ghost, rushing towards Aqua Queen at an astonishing speed. Aqua Queen, seeing the situation, extended countless tentacles from behind to try to stop. However, this seemingly airtight attack was unable to stop Miller in the slightest. He soared into the air, and with lightning speed, he stabbed the spear into the root of Aqua Queen. The intense pain triggered Aqua Queen to launch a counterattack with its spikes. But this only made Miller even more excited. A horizontal slash cut her in half. Then Miller threw his spear, aiming directly at Aqua Queen's forehead. At that moment, he was like possessed by the god of war, continuously dealing heavy blows to Aqua Queen's head. Unexpectedly, Aqua Queen is no pushover either, continuously shooting out spikes to counterattack. The heart-wrenching pain caused Miller to erupt in anger. He suddenly broke free from the surrounded spikes. With all his strength, he split Aqua Queen in half with one blow. After a fierce battle, Miller collapsed on the ground, exhausted. While Lady You couldn't believe it and whispered to herself, "To think that a human could push themselves to this extent." As soon as the words fell, several tentacles extended from Aqua Queen's belly. Miller was powerless to dodge, and was firmly locked in the air. Then, at a speed visible to the naked eye, his body lost its vitality. However, Miller's powerful belief prompted him to launch a last-ditch counterattack in the face of death. Under his attack, Aqua Queen's body underwent a violent explosion. Wait for the smoke and dust to settle. Miller's body also began to disintegrate gradually. This scene made everyone present shudder. While they were in a daze, a hand extended from Aqua Queen's broken body. Next, a figure slowly emerged. In the stunned gaze of the crowd, the figure slowly transformed into the appearance of Miller. After moving the pelvis a bit, Aqua Queen was very satisfied. Because of Miller's cold-blooded and ruthless personality, completely erasing the will left by Caesar's mother in the body. The new body made her even more powerful. The intense shaking underwater during the conversation. This means that a big explosion is about to happen. Time is running out. All the 4 killers picked up their weapons and prepared for a desperate fight to the death. They have clear division of labor. 2 of them from Polka Dot stayed behind to engage Aqua Queen. The rest of the people went to open the hatch and throw bombs. Aqua Queen had already seen through their little tricks. She threw off Caesar and flew to block the 4 killer team. At the same time, Rita also sensed that a disaster was about to happen. In order to prevent the ship's crew from being distracted, she led all the aqua monsters to a location farther away from the Busan Alliance. The survivor of this apocalypse, with only the ocean and no land, could originally float on the sea to survive. But the Aqua Queen appeared and disrupted the peaceful life of humans. She attempted to use volcanic explosions to spread seeds, in order to make Aqua Monster rule the world. When humans learn about her secret, they immediately form a suicide squad to go and destroy Aqua Monster's lair. However, things did not go as smoothly as humans had anticipated. Aqua Queen not only sealed off all the torpedo hatch doors, but also acquired a more powerful body during the battle. This makes her withstand any damage. Her body can recover completely within seconds. Sonia also unfortunately died in this battle. He saw the big explosion coming. Dr. Curly Underwater was extremely anxious. He kept asking about the situation on the ship through the radio. Iron Fist Guy on the other side gradually regained consciousness upon hearing the shouts. Unexpectedly, what Iron Fist Guy saw in front of him was the corpse of his wife. The scenes of the 2 of them being together flashed in his mind, making him forget the pain in his body instantly. With great determination, he struggled to get up. Caesar, upon seeing this, roared and urged him to break the cabin door. Upon hearing this, Iron Fist Guy gathered all his strength into his arms. He struck out the fate-making blow amidst the crowd's gaze. Aqua Queen realized and wanted to step forward to stop, but it was too late. With a bang, countless bombs fell into the water. As the bombs continued to sink, the bombs began to detonate one by one around the nest. The roar of explosions was constant and unending. All the seeds, along with the nest, were instantly blown to pieces. And Iron Fist Guy, after doing all this, collapsed to the ground. He can finally go to another world to rest with Sonia. Meanwhile, Aqua Queen sees her plan fall apart. She is determined to eliminate the humans standing in her way. But without the power of the nest, her healing ability gradually declined. With the perfect coordination in Polka Dot's duo, Aqua Queen began to fall behind. At this moment, she still cannot believe that she will be defeated by humans. She always believed that humans were lower beings that could be easily manipulated. However, Catherine's words left her stunned. She said, "Aren't you always imitating humans? Using their appearance to blend in with the crowd? Then learning to live like what you call inferior creatures in your mouth." I heard that Aqua Queen looked fierce. She wished she could tear this woman's big mouth to pieces on the spot. Caesar, however, didn't give her the opportunity at all. He chopped towards Aqua Queen's forehead with a knife. Then he pressed her firmly to the ground. "I told you, those who harm my sister will die." After saying that, he completely ended the war. But the danger was not over. The underwater volcano erupted violently at that moment. The Busan Alliance could not withstand the aftermath and began to sink. In order to survive, Caesar jumped into the sea with Catherine in his arms. The next second, a large amount of Busan Alliance debris quickly sank over their heads. At this critical moment, Rita arrived in time. She reached out with numerous tentacles. She forcefully dragged the entire cruise ship out of the water. Immediately following was a deafening roar that brought forth towering waves. As the sea gradually calmed down, a small island inexplicably appeared. The survivors who witnessed this scene were all too shocked to believe their eyes. This was the first time in 100 years that they had seen the legendary land. And on the island, the Fork Killer woke up from unconsciousness. They stared blankly at everything in front of them. This land heralds a fresh new life for humanity. 3 years later, through the efforts of everyone, the lives of the island's residents are beginning to settle down. Catherine has also been waiting for Caesar to return, because no one has seen Rita since the big explosion. Caesar floated alone on the sea in search of his sister until he met Kelly. Kelly told him that the aqua monster no longer attacks humans actively. This statement woke Caesar up. Rita did not disappear. She is fighting alone for human safety. So he decided to return to the island. After discussing with Catherine, he built a house by the sea. This way Rita can see it whenever she comes back. He put all his thoughts into the letter. Hope to pass it on to my sister through a message in a bottle. Finally, on the 81st day, Rita's figure appeared on the surface of the sea. The two who hadn't seen each other for a long time embraced tightly at that moment. 1,000 words cannot compare to this brief reunion. Upon hearing the news, the other villagers put down their work one after another. Without prior agreement, they all ran towards the seaside. Everyone was happy for Rita's return.